This is Free Talk Live. Take control toll-free here. The number is 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. And we've got Skype. You can Skype into the show. Our username there is lrn.fm, so feel free to reach out to us that way. And if you haven't yet done so through Skype, you do have to send a contact request first. It's pretty simple. We'll then approve you. It'll be easy for you to call from that point forward. With you in the studio tonight, Ian here.
Cantwell.
And Mark.
Cantwell's here courtesy of ChristopherCantwell.com. We'll talk more about that and him here in a little bit. All kinds of interesting news to discuss here tonight. Apparently, there's been yet another lemonade stand crackdown. And I don't know where this is coming from, Mark, but you've got the story.
Pinellas County?
Florida.
Yep.
All right. I mean, that's a place where having lemonade is a pretty good thing. It gets hot down there.
Indeed. Well, it turns out that now this isn't about the story of the kid as much as it's about the follow-up to the story of the kid. Because we've done this story so many times on Free Talk Live.
It's been a while, though, since we've had one.
All right. Do you want me to go find a recap of that story? Because I didn't do that. I have a story about what happened sort of with the guy. Let me read.
I'm just saying it's been a while since we've had a lemonade story on the show.
All right. This is from theblaze.com here. In the week since Guerrero's story went viral, this is the kid who is serving lemonade on a neighbor's yard.
And they shut him down?
Yep. Right. This is he's 12 years old. He's faced years of official complaints from a crotchety neighbor bent on shutting down the boy's lemonade stand. So
years of complaints.
That's what it says. Remember TJ Guerrero, the 12-year-old entrepreneur who has faced years of official complaints from a crotchety neighbor, been shut down on bent on shutting down his lemonade stand? Well, in the last week, Guerrero's story went viral. The preteen's business has boomed because of the story, I assume. The Tampa Bay Times reported while the crotchety neighbor, 61-year-old Doug Wilkie. What's that?
Well, we know a crotchety guy named
Doug.
Okay.
In New Hampshire.
He's facing an ironic legal trouble. It seems that Wilkie was trying to get PJ's illegal business shut down. At the same time, he was running his own unlicensed business out of his house. Wilkie had listed...
He's a pimp.
What's that?
No, I'm just guessing. What kind of business was he running?
It's just, I don't know.
I got all excited there for a second. I thought you were really going to tell me the guy was a pimp.
No. I don't know precisely what he does, but it's called Bayport Financial Services. It sounds like he might be like a financial advisor or something like that.
Got it.
Which is certainly something that somebody could do from their home. But
not in Pinellas, apparently.
Not in Dunedin. Wilkie had listed his Dunedin, Florida home address as the principal business address for Bayport Financial Services. A tipster told city officials Wilkie was apparently skipping out on a $45 a year business license tax and other paperwork. And Dunedin's planning director, Greg Rice, told the Times that Wilkie could start facing a $250 a day fine if he doesn't come into compliance. The irony is Wilkie's not following the rules either, or doesn't seem to be, Rice said. Wilkie has tried to stay out of the spotlight as the local story reached the national stage, ordering reporters off of his property on Thursday, the Times noted.
Get off my land!
He's 61. He's not that old. I mean,
so just to clarify, though, the kid in the case, the kid with the lemonade stand, he's okay.
Yes. Yeah, it sounds like you said he's continuing to operate, right? So he hasn't been shut down.
Right. At this point, the authorities have figured out that going after kids in lemonade stands is a problem. Now, I think this is really kind of interesting because, okay, so I have a friend who runs a very successful business, and his wife is Asian. Now, she is the nominal head of the business and therefore gets whatever benefits one gets as being a minority business. That's sort of the reason that it was set up that way. Now, one can run a business with a titular head, right? Without that titular head really being in charge.
Sure.
So let's say you have a reasonably good location for a lemonade stand or whatever kind of business that would be appropriate for a kid to open, and you just stay open for the lemonade. and sell lemonade or ice cream or whatever it is from your front yard. And you got your kid around. We're just watching it for our kid. Like, where does it sort of end, stop and end?
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. What if they were to instead of having the 12-year-old go out there, what if you put a 20-year-old out operating the stand? Then,
Indeed, that's going to be a big problem.
What would happen?
Well, we did Lemonade Freedom Day in Philadelphia just last year, and this was the police came and
was that Jim
threatened
Babb's
us.
kids who came out for that?
I think Jim Babb was out there.
So
Mike
they had some
Salvi,
kids,
Josie
right?
Wales. Yeah, there were definitely kids there. I didn't get too well acquainted with the children, but we got the children away when the police showed up because we feared for their safety. And we told the police that. And they came after us. Now this was in some park in Philadelphia that's almost I believe it's similar to like Zuccotti Park in Manhattan.
So it's privately owned?
It's private public weirdness, one of those things. And they told us, that we needed a permit to sell there, and there were other vendors there with permits, including a licensed lemonade vendor. And we were like, well, I don't think we're going to get a permit. And if you want to come and use violence against us with our cameras running, then we're happy to bullhorn that to all these people here. And there's a pretty popular video about it, but they still will go run around and shut down kids' lemonade stands.
So do they
haven't
back down?
stopped doing it. They back down, yeah, but I mean, they threatened us first.
Sure.
You want to do this the easy way or the hard way? And we're like, yeah, I think that
we're really not here to do this the easy way.
Yeah, that's not really our MO, the easy way. Our way is, filming you and bullhorning it. And we got on the bullhorns. We're like, the police are threatening a children's lemonade stand. We had to get the children away because we feared for their safety. Right. How do you feel living in a world where you have to hide the children from the police? And
awesome.
Yeah.
I'm sorry I missed that one. That sounds like it'd be a good video.
They didn't do so well there, huh?
All right, so what else, Mark?
Yeah, that's the story.
So this dude, the grumpy neighbor, the 61-year-old guy who complained about this young man, and purportedly over a period of years, according to the article, complained
That's
about this?
what this says here. I mean, I haven't...
I've never seen the original story, so I don't know,
I've seen
what has happened, what has transpired to this point. I'm presuming, I'm filling in the blanks, presuming it's gone like most of the other ones, where a young man or lady has been selling lemonade, somebody complains, the cops come, threaten, and get it shut down. But in this case, it sounds different in that he hasn't shut down. So maybe the cops never came to threaten him, in which case, how did this make news in the first place? That's what I'd like to know.
Everything that I've seen about this kid shows that he is a real entrepreneur as far as it goes. Like he's dedicated. He's not some kid out there who says, you know what I'll do? I'll take out my little plastic table and bring out some watered down Kool-Aid and play lemonade stand.
Yeah.
I stop off every time I see one of these kids serving watered down Kool-Aid and
Why
Dixie
would someone
cups.
serve Kool-Aid instead of lemonade at a lemonade stand? That sounds like fraud.
What are you talking about, Ian? I'm just talking about people who do stands.
Yeah, you're talking about somebody who does a crappy job. I'd be really disappointed if I got Kool-Aid instead of lemonade.
But I mean, if they're advertising, Kool-Aid, but like lemonade stand has become the colloquial term for, hey, I'm a child and I'm selling cold beverages on the
Cookies.
side of the highway.
I stopped by and got some lemonade from a stand in the neighborhood once, and it was very good.
Like I once wrote an article about lemonade stands getting shut down, and I went looking for things, and I wrote about Girl Scout cookies and all manner of lunacy that these people were going at.
That's true. Yeah, they have targeted the Girl Scouts as well.
Okay,
Boy
so
Scouts popcorn and.
I've looked it up. In business is all about location, 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 and even 12-year-old TJ Guerrero knows that since Guerrero.
Where is this coming from?
This is from CNN. Since 2013, he's been manning a lemonade stand at the corner of Patricia Avenue and San Salvador Drive in Dunedin, Florida, about 25 miles west of Tampa. He lives a few houses down the street from the junction, but got permission from the owners of the corner house to set up shop with his homemade sign at the higher traffic area during summer breaks and after school during the school year. But another neighbor in the neighborhood has been trying to put a squeeze on the kid's sweet operation.
Do they name him in this article?
I don't know.
We'll find out here in moments.
We know what his name is now.
I want to know more because, if somebody found out who he was and then they doxed him, basically.
They doxed him.
More coming up here in moments. The toll-free number is 855-450-FREE. Do you think lemonade stands should be shut down? Really?
This is Mark Edge of Free Talk Live, and I've got something awesome to share with you. I've recently joined Liberty.me. It's an online city devoted to people who love liberty. Break free of the flame wars and bridge-dwelling denizens of Facebook. You deserve better. You deserve a friendly, ad-free social network where you can chat 24 hours a day with like-minded souls around the world. Attend live interactive classes with experts on economics, finance, politics, and money. Access a vast library of books and discuss them with your reading group. Better your life with exclusive self-help guides on investing, self-defense, homeschooling, security, healthcare, saving money, and starting a business. Become a libertarian luminary yourself and get paid in the process by publishing your works on Liberty.me. Get tipped via PayPal and Bitcoin.
The first step towards freedom is to invest in yourself. Start your free 30-day trial now at Liberty.me.
I love being a member of Liberty.me, and I think you will too. The first month is free. Sign up and say hello.
Adam Miller here with Midas Resources. Today, August 29th, 2014, gold opened at $1287.60. A 1-ounce gold coin can be purchased for $1334.47, $667.23 for half ounce, or $333.62 for a quarter ounce. That's $1334.47, $667.23, and $333.62.
Hi, this is Ted Anderson. Have you ever wondered why banks, stockbrokers, investment advisors won't talk about gold IRAs? Wait a sec. Gold and silver is going up while Congress is trying to settle on the next debt increase, and there's no end to this madness. That old 401k and IRA can be converted into physical gold without tax consequences. I explained this in my book, 10 Reasons to Buy Gold. Don't let time slip away. Call for your free copy today, 800-686-2237. Get away from that Washington spin and get honest answers about gold. 800-686-2237. The book is free, 800-686-2237.
On Free Talk Live, we're bringing people to the ideas of liberty every day. From wrestling superstars like Glenn Jacobs.
You guys really are having an impact, I believe. Like I said, a lot of where I am now is due to listening to Free Talk Live. You changed my mind on some very important issues years ago.
To random people tuning in on the radio.
I was kind of stuck in the left-right paradigm. I heard your show by chance on a Saturday night. From there, I went on, joined the Free State Project, and become an amplifier. So, I mean, that's really the reason why I amp is because I know that if it wasn't for you guys being on as many stations as you are, I never would have found the ideas of liberty.
Your amp will directly change more lives by getting Free Talk Live in front of people looking for talk radio online and on the air. Find out about giving to our Google AdWords campaign at amp.freetalklive.com. That's amp.freetalklive.com. Did you know that you can listen to and watch Free Talk Live during our live show 7 days a week from 7 to 10 p.m. Eastern via our studio cam at cam.freetalklive.com? Not only that, but you can also chat with other listeners at the same time. Do I need to mention that both the studio cam and chat room are totally free? Outside of Free Talk Live's live hours, you won't see a cam feed, but will hear audio from the Liberty Radio Network. So listen, watch, and chat all free at cam.freetalklive.com. That's cam.freetalklive.com.
Are you a political activist who does things that the government might not like? Then this free ebook may save your life. Rats is your guide to protecting yourself against snitches, informers, informants, agents provocateur, narcs, finks, and similar vermin. Rats was written by OG libertarian Claire Wolfe. Rats is a short book, easy to read, and available free in many formats. Download Rats free at rats-nosnitch.com. That's rats-nosnitch.com.
Help get LRN.FM into more ears. Visit promote.lrn.fm for a free bumper sticker, flyers, banners, graphics, and more. Promote.lrn.fm.
This is Free Talk Live, and you can bring up anything that you want. Just dial on in toll-free here, 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. Join us online over at freetalklive.com. Lots to discuss here tonight, including a proposal to nationalize the police. That's a terrible idea, but we'll get deeper into that here in a little bit, especially when you've got the police cracking down on lemonade stands. Although in the case of Florida, where we're talking about Pinellas, apparently, or Dunedin.
Dunedin,
is
yeah.
that Pinellas County?
It is Pinellas County, yes.
So in Florida, and that's the Tampa area, a young man, he's, 12, was it?
Yep.
13, something like that?
12.
He's been doing this for over a year, so he started when he was 11, I would guess. Started up doing his own lemonade stand, and some grumpy neighbor complained about it, apparently made a series of complaints. We're actually getting the background on the story, because what we found out first was sort of the update, and that was that this particular neighbor, turns out he's running his own home-based business. So he's a hypocrite as well as a snitch. We'll get into the rest of that story. Your calls are welcome, especially if you think lemonade stands need to be stopped. I want to hear from you at 855-450-FREE. Someone out there is obviously upset by these lemonade stands, like the grumpy neighbor who refuses to talk to the press at this point, but those people are out there, so our toll-free number is there for you. ExpressCoin.com is also there for you. If you want to get Bitcoins, Dogecoin, Litecoin, Blackcoin, and as well as Darkcoin, you can get it very easily, and it's fast. ExpressCoin.com, they really care about customer service, and they will help you. It's really simple, though. I mean, it's money order, check, wire transfer, cash deposit. There are several options for you to use your cash and turn it into cryptocurrencies. Go and get started at expresscoin.com. And you can now do it from Canada as well as the United States. Plus, they've got a smartphone app, which you can grab over at expresscoin.com. If you've been waiting to get into Bitcoin, the price is down from what it was just a few weeks ago. So maybe now's a good time. Expresscoin.com can help you with that. Mark, continue the story here from, what was the source?
This was CNN.
CNN out of Tampa Bay and Pinellas. So you're kind of giving us some of the background on this story now, because what we found out in the beginning of the show tonight was that there's a 61-year-old neighbor, Doug, who's been complaining there about this young man selling lemonade, presumably right from the front yard of his parents' house.
No, from the front yard of a neighbor's house.
Thank you for that.
House.
Who has given permission. The neighbor has given permission for this young man to be there.
He lives a few houses down the street, and the neighbor has the more lucrative lemonade spot.
It's all about the location, right?
Yeah.
So,
and he's been doing this, interestingly, for more than a year.
That's amazing dedication. So let's get back to the story.
Dunedin City Manager Rob Spirito told CNN that the first complaint was lodged by a 61-year-old Doug Wilkie in 2013.
Okay.
At least 4 emails to the city since then. Wilkie complained the Guerrero stand caused excessive traffic, noise, and affected the property value of his home, which is next door to where the stand is set up. If this were a once-a-year event by a couple of kids to earn a little money for a holiday or something, I'd not have a problem with it, Wilkie wrote. I'm very worried about the value of my home, which is why I built in a residential area, not in a business area.
Maybe some people value having a lemonade stand nearby. Perhaps the value would actually increase depending on who you asked.
It looks scenic, right? Like there's a kid with a lemonade stand, handmade lemonade sign. You know, I mean, Norman Rockwell made it look good.
I think he's probably just upset that it's bringing down his property taxes. You know, he probably wants to pay more in taxes, and he's really upset.
I like the idea of, I mean, it depends on how you look at things, right? Like some people would say, for instance, Chris, you recently moved in across the street here from the LRN.FM studios.
Yeah.
And there are some who would argue that you free stater types, of course, you're not even a free stater, you liberty activists moving together, you guys are bringing down the property values in the neighborhood. In fact, that was one of the claims on why the house that ultimately you moved into took so long to sell. One of the rumors going around the neighbors was that it was because of those darn liberty activists across the street.
It wasn't the high price and like being nearly double what the house next door. It
wasn't the fact that the woman refused to lower her price in any meaningful way over the time she was an unreasonable seller. No, that had nothing to do with it. It was the liberty activists bringing the prices and the values of the houses down. To me, that's a good thing.
To a liberty activist.
Right.
I mean, it's not that complicated of an equation.
Even if that's true, right? Even if that's true, then I think is a fine idea. Let's create, as Rich Paul has put it, the Porcupine Ghetto, a place where property values for the average buyer are in decline. But for a liberty activist, that's a valuable thing. We want more liberty people to move together, to move close together. And if the prices are going down on houses, that only encourages people to buy rather than rent and to actually make an investment and to, sink some roots into the ground. It doesn't mean that this neighborhood's trashy or anything like that. In fact, the guy that complains about this particular house in this area happens to have a trashier porch, in my opinion, than we do. He seems to be collecting more junk up there as the days go by.
Right, and the thing is, obviously, people value different things differently, right? I mean, subjective value and whatnot, and so they're going by what the tax assessor says the value of their property is, and if the if the city of Keene thinks that we're bringing down property values, then that's the city of Keene's opinion, and I don't particularly value the opinion of the city of Keene, the city government. So, clearly, if we have people who want to be around other like-minded people, I mean, this is kind of a cool neighborhood to live in, I
think it'll be especially if more people start buying or renting in this neighborhood, the more people that love freedom that can come physically, literally, houses down from one another, I think is very valuable. You want to talk about response time. I mean, here in New Hampshire, you can have response time. I don't know if it was Tony Bones, but one of these online liberty activists, people that are kind of trying to make it happen wherever it is they're living. And in her case, I think it's Missouri, for instance. There was some post made about getting pulled over by the police and, someone please respond. And my question was, did anyone respond?
Of course not.
Of course, that's you being a jerk, right? If you ask that question.
I didn't say it that way. Okay. I said it something like, well, if you want guaranteed, almost guaranteed response, you should live in Keene or Manchester.
But do you understand how, sometimes people will give you trouble about that, but it's the God's honest truth.
I don't care if they give me trouble. It is the truth.
I'm not trying to be mean to anybody here, but if you want to, why are you trying to recreate the wheel?
I want to support you. I want to be able to be there for you if you love freedom and are willing to stand up for it. But I can't drive to Missouri and I can't drive to California, but I can go across town and I can hop on my bike and go across town. But it's even easier when it's across the street. If something were to happen, Chris, at your house, I'm right here.
Right.
It's no problem.
And there have been things that happened over here, and I run out of the house immediately. And I saw, it was a innocent enough thing. It wasn't a problem, but the police pulled up here once, and I was just like, got on my radio, and I was like, the cops are in front of Ian's house. And, Derek came out with a camera like 2 seconds later. It's really cool here. And, I mean, even Keene as opposed to Manchester, frankly, I put out the 411 the other day that, I was in Manchester and, filming the police, and I'm like, is there a radio channel that they use here? And the young lady I was with was like, I'm not really sure, and I'm looking.
We've been trying to help that. I mean, you can't push people into this stuff, unfortunately. And I know we've gone far astray from the lemonade stand. We'll get back into that here. But just talking about activist communications and getting people to get on the same channels and things like that. There aren't as many radios distributed in Manchester, and of those that are distributed, there aren't as many in use, from what I understand. They had a Manchester 411. You were talking about how you sent a text message to this Keene 411 system, but I don't think anyone in Manch really monitors that actively, so they probably didn't see that.
Right.
And nobody's ever used the Manch 411 except for Dale, who used to be our co-host. He tried to get people into it, and just nobody was interested. More coming up here in moments. You can take control. This is Free Talk Live. Bring up whatever's on your mind.
We all know that Berkey water purification systems are the most trusted name in water filtration. As an authorized Berkey dealer for over 6 years and serving thousands of satisfied customers, the Berkey Guy offers amazing specials for Berkey water filtration systems. The Berkey Light systems include a set of self-sterilizing and recleanable black purification elements that purify water by removing chlorine, pathogenic bacteria, cysts, and parasites to non-detectable levels and remove harmful chemicals such as herbicides and pesticides. Order the Berkey Light system today, complete with 2 black Berkey elements for only $231, and the Berkey Guy will ship your order free of charge. With the purchase of a Berkey Light, the Berkey Guy is also offering a set of fluoride and arsenic filters for only $39.99. That's over 30% off the retail price. Call the Berkey Guy at 1-877-886-3653. That's 1-877-886-3653. Or order online at goberkey.com. That's goberkey.com today.
Are you looking for an excuse to come check out New Hampshire this fall? You're invited to Keenvention. Keenvention is your chance to meet dozens of key liberty activists from across the Shire. You can explore the beautiful little city of Keene, discuss various forms of activism with seasoned veterans, do some Robin Hooding, and learn about making the move. Keenvention received rave reviews last year. If you missed it, visit keenvention.info for full video coverage of every speaker and panel. This year, Rich Paul is our first announced keynote speaker, and more are being announced now at keenvention.info. Join old and new friends and neighbors in Keene for Keenvention this October 31st through November 2nd. You can pre-order your tickets now for just $60 at keenvention.info, or you can pay with Bitcoin. Visit keenvention.info for more information and to lock in your tickets at the pre-order $60 price for the whole weekend. Visit keenvention.info for more, or look for our page and event on Facebook. That's keenvention.info.
If you want to move to the free state and you're looking for some real estate, well, I know a guy who's really great. It's the realtor Mark Warden. Do you want a home with 20 acres, a lakeside cabin, any takers for renters, buyers, and sellers too? Mark Warden is the guy for you. PorcupineRealEstate.com.
The three most important things you can do for Free Talk Live are: 1, share one episode a week on Facebook or in some other social networking site. 2, buy the things you buy online through shop.freetalklive.com. 3, give $5 a month to the AMP program. You likely buy all kinds of things online. Amazon is the largest online retailer. You can get what you need at the same prices with free Super Saver shipping by going to shop.freetalklive.com. Please do your online shopping at shop.freetalklive.com.
Everyone needs to get a justice shed. So you have a place to throw that little juvenile delinquent you caught loitering out on the street corner. This is not rocket science, people. I just call up my neighbors, Frank and Terry. We get out there with baseball bats, fishing nets, and we knock that suspect out. And we toss him in our justice shed. We just start dealing out some shovel beatings. That's democracy, people. That's the biggest benefit of the Justice Shed, people. You are in charge.
Our Justice Shed was all filled up, so we created this Justice Cage. It's just as good. These guys, I think we caught them shoplifting, and this is my daughter's boyfriend.
Look, if you don't have a yard big enough to place a Justice Shed in, go out and get yourself a Justice Barrel. I don't care. The important thing is to take control of your safety by any means necessary.
This is the Onion News Network.
This is the Liberty Radio Network, broadcasting the latest liberty-oriented audio content 24 hours a day at LRN.FM.
This is Free Talk Live. The toll-free number is 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. You can join us online. Just go to freetalklive.com. Enjoy the features. They're waiting for you there. And you can create the content totally free at freetalklive.com. If you need focus and are feeling fatigued and trying to get that extra edge when it counts, look into modafinil from modup.net. Studies show 1 in 5 students use this cognitive enhancer, offering multiple benefits, including a double-digit increase in short-term memory, fighting off fatigue, and greater focus overall, so you can get things done. Businessmen are also talking about modafinil from modup.net and how it's making the difference in their work and giving them the critical edge that they need. At modup.net, they make it affordable for everyone to take advantage of the benefits of modafinil by being 80 to 85% lower in price than the brand name. But don't mistake low prices for inferior quality. They really care and ensure that purity and potency is consistent to that of the branded version. Remember, Free Talk Live is an international radio show, and modup.net ships worldwide. It's your responsibility to know if local prescription requirements and laws apply. So check out modup.net, and when you're ready to buy, you can pay with Bitcoin to get a 33% discount. Make the deal even better. Put in code FTL like Free Talk Live and you'll get 10 free tablets with your order. So don't forget code FTL. Modup.net is where you want to go for modafinil at world-class service at a great price. That's modup.net with code FTL. Let's go to the phones and to your thoughts more about the lemonade stand situation with the grumpy neighbor in moments. Daniela is with us first in Brooklyn. Daniela, you're on Free Talk Live.
Hi. I was really interested in talking about the idea of decentralization and how central that is to, libertarian ideology, and how it might also have to do with self-reliance.
Sure.
I've been thinking a lot lately, about how the key to government control of an industry sector is regulation of large corporations that are the backbone of that industry. So, for instance, you buy electricity from a local provider. That provider obviously is a regional monopoly that's highly regulated by the government. The monopoly enjoys a guaranteed profit without any risk. Mm-hmm. And of course, as you know, large companies love government regulation because it socializes their risk and they earn guaranteed profits.
Well, and it also, government regulation also keeps other players out of the business. So it protects them.
Right. And so, and they name their price and you have no choice to pay it. And so I really love the idea of decentralization. And I'm really interested in technologies and, opportunities to decentralize things that are otherwise completely controlled by either, by some powers that be, whether it's public or private. And I was thinking a lot recently as I was reading some pretty hilarious articles recently about radical self-reliance and the Burning Man Festival. And even though I'm not a burner in any way, I do think it's an interesting idea. And I was trying to marry the idea of self-reliance in everyday life, because not all of us can go off and do acid for 10 days a year. How can you be more self-reliant?
I shudder at the thought. Who says you can't?
Well, maybe no, you're right. Not if you want to. I can't, unfortunately.
I can't either.
I don't think I'd want to do acid for 10 days in a row.
I wouldn't want to do
exhausting.
acid 10 days in a row either. It would be. It would kind of take all the fun out of it.
I could do like mushrooms over the weekend, but that's about my limit.
Well, the libertarian.
I've got a family. This isn't going to work out for me at all.
The Porcupine Freedom Festival has been called the Libertarian Burning Man before, so you don't have to go.
I can't wait to go.
Yeah, you don't have to go all the way to Nevada to have a good time. Anyway, go ahead.
So I've been thinking about this a lot recently because I've been working on a project of my own to decentralize communication. It's actually interesting because I think you guys were just talking about, activists and using radios and the fact that no one uses them. And I think this actually speaks to this as well. So I've been working on a technology that enables you to communicate without ever having to plug into central connectivity. And, I did it in part because of my experience during Hurricane Sandy here in New York, where not only did all the towers go down, a third of them did, but the power was out, so you had no Wi-Fi. And so it started as this practical thing that I wanted to develop, a way for you to use your smartphone to communicate with other people, regardless of whether you have access to cell towers or Wi-Fi. So it was this practical in an emergency situation. But as I've now been working on it for 2 years, and we just released the technology, I'm thinking a lot more of it from a philosophical perspective, the idea that communication should be decentralized. We've been told by everyone, and everyone meaning, the media, the powers that be, the government, that the best way to handle communication is to have it be centralized in some way. So you pay an internet provider, you pay a cell carrier.
So what's your technology? I mean, what are you putting together here? Because I'd just like to clarify something you said. It's the radio, the two-way radio issues are only happening in Manchester. Keene, there's a fair amount of people who regularly use two-way radios, and that is a decentralized method in a lot of ways of communicating. Although if you rely on a repeater, there is some centralization going on there, although that brings benefits. So what's your proposal exactly? What's the tech that you've put together?
Sure. Of course. So what we've developed now over 2 years, and we launched it last month, is this product called Gotenna. That's,
I've heard about this.
Gotenna. Yeah. So that's my company, and I started working on it 2 years ago, immediately after Hurricane Sandy. And what we've done is we've invented this little device that pairs wirelessly to your phone. And in fact, it doesn't even have to be a phone. It can be any iOS or Android device. So it can be your iPod. So you don't even need to have cell service. And it enables you to communicate with anyone else who has Gotenna as well, with up to 50 miles away from you.
Up to 50? That's pretty good. That's like if you're on a mountaintop.
What's it travel by?
Yeah.
Radio waves.
Okay. What kind of radio waves?
VHF frequency, so it's very, VHF frequency is 151 to 154 megahertz, publicly licensed spectrum that anyone can use, which is why we chose it, and has great propagation characteristics. And you can send text messages and share your location in a totally end-to-end encrypted fashion that never plugs into central infrastructure. So it's completely decentralized communication that's totally private, that you can use no matter who or where you are. And
okay.
the idea
I actually heard about this from one of the Manchester activists who's like really into radio stuff.
I'm going to need help. Okay. So
it's like a secondary transmitter essentially for your cell phone.
But does it hop? Okay, so it uses the cell phone signal. Like the cell phone.
It's Bluetooth, right? Like you're hooking it in.
Let me ask my questions.
So just to be clear, so you connect the device over Bluetooth to your phone, and then at that point, it doesn't use any of the signals that you normally use. It emits its own signal. It creates its own signal. In fact, Gotenna even works when you have no service, and even if you turn your phone into airplane mode. You do not hop into any sort of central connectivity. This is decentralizing communication completely.
If you were in airplane mode, you wouldn't be able to Bluetooth connect to the Gotenna.
No, you can actually. That's a common misconception. But if you turn your phone into airplane mode, you can then turn your Bluetooth back on.
Yeah. Right, it shuts everything down, but then you can restart it up. Because I know I've opened up Wi-Fi on an airplane after I turned it into airplane mode.
So just a quick question. So quick question for you, Daniela. Does this allow, let's say you've got this thing working, you have no cell phone connectivity. Does the Gotenna have its own app that you have to use to text people? Is that how it works?
Yeah, you either download our app for iOS or Android, or you can use our open software development kit to create your own app. So anyone else can build on it. The idea is that it's a completely open platform for people to build.
I thought, Mark, somebody had sent you something about this to like check these guys out for a possible advertiser on Free Talk Live.
Look, I'm curious as to what this, and I think it would be a great advertiser for Free Talk Live. So these devices. Now, do you have to have a device to receive the signal too?
Yes.
Okay, so it's a.
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, we can't do the impossible from a physics perspective. You need a special receiver to be able to receive these radio waves.
Okay.
And because the radio waves we're working on are relatively low frequency compared to the radio chips.
So here's
wait. So I have more questions. All right. So let's say I live in a remote area, 30 miles away from somebody who's not so remote, and they've got all the accoutrement of modern life. Can I communicate via text and cell phone with their Gotenna? You know, we've both got one of these Gotenna things.
Yeah.
And then they can essentially rebroadcast me to the rest of the world?
Unfortunately, the FCC doesn't let us do anything really cool like store and forward you into central connectivity. And that is another discussion to have, how the FCC is, preventing us from innovating as much as possible.
I bet.
But we're working on it. We're working with
Daniela, thanks for bringing this to the table. I think it's a cool idea, and your website's gotenna.com. So there's your freebie. Now we want you to advertise. Thanks for the call. Appreciate hearing from you tonight. We're coming up on Free Talk Live.
Stop harming your body with coffee from grocery stores or most chains. Start making a difference, 1 cup at a time. We've partnered with Camano Island Coffee Roasters to offer you a free pound of BuzzBox coffee. It's organic, so no harmful pesticides or toxins. Shade-grown, meaning less acidity and no heartburn. Try the best of the best for free. Just cover shipping. 10% of future purchases go toward helping us give the gift of human freedom around the globe with at least 100 microloans via World Vision. Go to coffee.freetalklive.com.
Hi, everyone. I'm Chuck Woolery. After putting a few thousand couples together on Love Connection, you know that nothing kills romance faster than bad breath. Smart Mouth gets at the cause of bad breath without the burn, and you get clean breath for about 12 hours. Other mouthwashes only prevent bad breath for about an hour. Gum and mints, well, they just cover it up. Use Smart Mouth in the morning for great breath all day. Rinse in the evening for clean, kissable breath all night. You can even wake up without morning breath. Smart Mouth, for 12 hours of real clean breath, look for the green box at your favorite store.
I didn't believe it. Neither did I. No way could you professionally remove unwanted hair, pain-free, and at home.
My thoughts exactly.
Remove my face and body hair without expensive, painful office visits?
Not possible. Great minds think alike.
Until I tried No Pro.
Mm-hmm. Wait, you tried No?
Yes, and it works. I use it on my face, legs, bikini line.
We're BFFs, and you didn't tell me about No?
Here, this is my new No Pro. The most powerful No made. Custom treatment levels, less hair in less time. Perfect for any skin type. Try it.
No hair, no pain, no time-consuming expensive office visits?
No, and no.
For a limited time, you can try No Pro risk-free. You'll also get the facial kit and a travel case. Get weeks of long-lasting results.
That's it. I'm getting a No.
Great minds do think alike.
Try No Pro risk-free by calling 800-952-5760. 800-952-5760. That's 800-952-5760. 800-952-5760.
What if the key to achieving liberty in your lifetime was to move together with others who think like you? Liberty activists are joining the Free State Project, which is over 70% of the way to its goal of 20,000 participants. And they're already making the move to New Hampshire. The successes are piling up and are proving the Free State Project is a real movement and no longer just a great idea. When you're planning your move, consider Keene. Keene is famous for its civil disobedience and non-cooperation, and there's plenty of political opportunity as well. From demonstrations and vigils to outreach and volunteering, there's a lot going on in Keene. Keene is the liberty media capital of the world, with television, talk radio, and more, all originating here. Though it's more than just activism, with regular social events each week. See what's happening at freekeene.com and get connected with video, audio, free books, a forum, and activist tools you can download and use in your area at freekeene.com. That's freekeene.com. If you want to know the latest about Free Talk Live before we go on the air, all you need to decide is how you want it delivered. It's your choice. Visit news.freetalklive.com. You can get emailed announcements and participate in contests via our email updates list. Plus, we have a Twitter account that you can follow and a Facebook page where you can become a fan. So visit news.freetalklive.com to get news about Free Talk Live as soon as it's announced and the way you want it delivered at news.freetalklive.com. That's news.freetalklive.com.
Aren't you tired of governments murdering people around the world? Well, stop using their money. There's an alternative. Bitcoin is a stateless, free market, non-political currency. Bitcoin cannot be inflated or controlled by any government, and by using their money, you're helping the state. Stop doing it. You have an incredible alternative available now. Learn it, use it, spread it. Get started with Bitcoin at weusecoins.com. That's weusecoins.com.
You can sign up to receive the latest about the Liberty Radio Network via our email updates at updates.lrn.fm. That's updates.lrn.fm.
This is Free Talk Live. You bring up anything you want. Toll-free number is 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. You join us here on the air. You can join us online over at freetalklive.com. You can join us in real life coming up in just over a month at Disney World.
That's right, coinsinthekingdom.com. It's a Bitcoin party at Walt Disney World Resort in Orlando, Florida. We're going to be there, and well, Jeffrey Tucker from Liberty.me is going to be there. Kyle Drake from Skyhook is going to be there. Charlie Shrim, the Bitcoin pioneer that has just sort of settled his issue with, what's the organization that was going after him?
The Feds?
Yeah, the Feds. There you go. Dan Elitzer from the MIT Bitcoin Project, and Rasha Murashik from Mycelium is going to be there. Just talked to him today, as a matter of fact. Davi Barker from Bitcoin Not Bombs. Going to be a lot of folks in the Bitcoin sphere coming and partying at the Magic Kingdom. It's going to be fun. The Wyndham Lake Buena Vista in downtown Disney, Saturday, October 4th to Monday, October 6th. Tickets, $60.
What a deal.
Hotel rooms, $99. Kids under 12, free. Funds mandatory. Come celebrate Magic Internet money at the Magic Kingdom. Coinsinthekingdom.com.
I don't think it's right to make it mandatory for people to have fun. I think people should have fun voluntarily. Just pointing that out.
It's going to be a good time.
If you want to come,
sure.
you got to have fun.
It will be a good time, I expect, because I know we know the folks organizing this. It's actually Jason King from Sean's Outpost. I believe he's putting this together.
Right.
And we talked about Sean's Outpost as one of the kind of the preeminent Bitcoin accepting charities out there in the world, doing some great work for the homeless. So we'll look forward to seeing you there. The toll-free number here tonight is 855-450-FREE. So we actually got a call from somebody who works for this Gotenna company, and the product doesn't exist yet. It's going to be released supposedly toward the end of this year. So it's in pre-order phase right now. And yeah, the price point's not terrible. It's $150 is what they're asking for two of these things. So when you buy the Gotenna,
you get a pair,
a second one. That you can use, obviously, because it would be silly to have one and not be able to test it and see if it actually worked. So I think the idea here is there have been stories in the news about how like Apple has put in a kill switch, from what I understand, for the police to use. Like if there's some sort of protest, say Occupy Wall Street or whatever it is that's going on, something's happening. The Apple folks have put in a kill switch to where the police would be able to kill cell phone coverage or kill off smartphones at the very least from being able to operate within a certain area.
Right.
And so the idea being that if you can get away from reliance on the cell phone companies for communication purposes, that's a good thing.
Yeah,
and that's what this could do.
Yeah, it sounds like that's the idea behind it. And I mean, like we have, we use Keen 411 here, and of course, if we lose cell service or internet access for whatever
Keen
reason,
411 depends on you having either cell or internet access. Actually, cell access, because you can text over the internet, I guess, but you have to send a text message to a phone number,
right?
And then that message goes through Google Voice, and then it goes through Twitter Mail. And so it depends on two services beyond the service that gets the message to those services.
Exactly.
So it depends on
and
at least three services.
Yeah, and then this is directly, you to the people that you're communicating with, and that's a good thing. Because, of course, we can't trust these large corporations because, they have a lot to lose and governments threaten them and they do things. I do want to kind of point out, though, real quick. I mean, she was talking about decentralization being, part of libertarian philosophy or something like that. I don't agree with that at all. I think that there's nothing wrong with centralizing something if that's the most effective way to do it and it serves people in the market the best.
If it works better, yeah.
Right. The problem that we suffer with is that we have a tyrannical government who is giving people special favors and helping them corner markets, and we're dealing with situations where it might not be in our best interest to use some of these centralized services. And so because of that, it's a beneficial thing for us to decentralize our communications because we can't rely on these things, but it's not central to libertarian philosophy as I understand it.
Yeah, she made that statement and I just didn't feel like calling her on it. But yeah, I'm glad you brought that up because the idea of libertarianism, if you will, is that you don't use force against people. You don't initiate force against people. There's no statement within the ideas of liberty as to what's the most effective way to organize things. I mean,
right.
Some people have had good luck with like an employee-owned business. Other people have had good luck with kind of the top-down man at the top in charge of everybody else. Of course, the kind of standard hierarchy model that corporations tend to employ seems to not work too great, especially as the companies become larger. They become even more bureaucratic and more difficult to deal with. I know how difficult it can be sometimes to get all the paperwork straight here at Free Talk Live, and we don't have more than a handful of people working. So,
indeed,
there's issues with a very small group of people working together, and then as you start to get scale things up, it gets more complicated. So yeah, libertarianism doesn't take a position on what's the best way to organize, which is why I don't like being called a capitalist. I'm not necessarily a capitalist. I don't take a position on what's the best way to organize things. If the commies want to have themselves a farm and it works well for them, then great, as long as they're not forcing me to live there.
But
I'm okay with it.
A lot of talk has gone on in libertarian circles about decentralization, and it's lauded in many ways, right?
Yeah, that's true. I mean, I think people see the benefits in a lot of ways.
I think that there's certain elements that have a lot in common with libertarians who would say that decentralization is central to what they believe in, right? And I'm like, well, no, that's not it. And I do call myself a capitalist, and that's just being I'm an anarcho-capitalist, which is a combination of two things.
Two really bad words.
One is recognizing that the state is an illegitimate institution and just an excuse to do harm, and the other is understanding economics.
So I'm interested.
I understand what people who call themselves anarcho-capitalists mean when they say it. I would contend, however, that that language, the English language and all language, is intended to communicate, and that when one uses words that have been corrupted over time, like anarchist and capitalist, one opens oneself up to a world of miscommunication.
Well, no, I'm communicating very clearly when I say anarcho-capitalist. And if other people have been, having their language degenerated by public schools and bogus philosophers and radio hosts, then, that's unfortunate. But they are failing to hear. I'm not failing to communicate.
Well, sometimes you don't get a chance to communicate all of your message to somebody. And I think that using the term voluntarist, at least for me, is a better thing because it communicates what I'm for rather than what I'm against. And I'd rather be for things than against things. I'd rather be pro-peace than anti-war if I can choose how I'm being described. In a lot of cases, we don't get to choose those things.
But like voluntarist also fits into like mutualist, for example, right? And, mutualists oppose,
what's that mean? What's
rent? It's labor theory of value, right? Like economics to me is a really important part of liberty, right? If you understand economics, then things make more sense. And if you think that if you're working on labor theory of value instead of subjective value if you're working with the idea that it's somehow immoral or wrong to charge interest or to charge rent. These are ideas that I think are toxic and are worth arguing with people about, frankly.
Sure, but what you're saying there is voluntarism would include those ideas.
Theoretically, it would, right? Because if you
as long as people are organizing voluntarily, if you're living with somebody who also agrees that rent is nonsense and everybody's living there consensually, then it's none of my business.
But when people have economic catastrophes, then they tend to react rather poorly, right? Like, so if you think that paying rent is immoral, right? If you think that charging rent is immoral, then maybe then you feel that I'm coercing you by charging you rent in my house or something. If somebody comes and rents for me, and I'm like, yes, rent is $500 a month, and they're like, hey, no problem, because I have no problem lying to a cop, right? If a cop is coercing me, I have no problem telling him, no, officer, I don't have any.
And then they move in, and then they don't pay.
Exactly.
Yeah,
So I mean, these things can happen, and it's worth. I think it's worth hashing out those philosophical differences.
Sure.
Whereas if these people are saying, well, of course, my mutualist society would be voluntary, because that's what everybody says, right?
Good point. The toll-free number tonight is 855-450-FREE. So I have to say, I like the Gotenna idea. I think it's a neat one. I hope it works out for him. I hope that we can get him on board as an advertiser, because I'd like to test it. I think it'd be neat. My big concern, my first objection would be, well, if I want to communicate with somebody, I don't want to text. I think that's, if it's an urgent situation, texting is not a fast method of communicating.
Unless it can do like group messaging, right? Like if you can broadcast a message and people who choose to receive broadcast can receive it.
I believe you can with this.
So that's like a really helpful feature. And I mean, she mentioned that she was in Brooklyn during Hurricane Sandy, and that was some serious mess. I was in Long Island when that happened. I mean, we had the National Guard there to cell services out, powers out. Even keeping your cell phone charged was a really difficult thing to do.
A lot of government buildings, it's hard to get a signal, for instance. And so if you had a group of people inside a building, this could be very, very useful in a situation like that.
Absolutely.
There's more coming up here, or just out and about at a festival or something. If you don't need an urgent message to get to somebody, a text is a good way. A group text is a good way to do that. And if you're not relying on the phone networks, that's a plus for sure. 855-450-FREE. There's more coming up here on Free Talk Live.
Americans are reeling from Obamacare, higher prices, and an epidemic of policy lapses. AsiaRunLikeHellGuide.com has you covered. World-class medical and surgery at one of Asia's most modern hospitals. 300 doctors, surgeons, and dentists serving 300,000 patients a year. Fractions of U.S. prices. Friends or family forced to go out of pocket? Avoid bankruptcy. Tell them to run. Run like hell. Hit us up now. We'll show you how. AsiaRunLikeHellGuide.com.
You got to pay attention to the small things, kid. Small things matter. Small problems become big problems. Take a transformer. Rain leaks into a transformer, insulation system breaks down. Insulation system breaks down, copper windings overheat. Copper windings overheat, transformer blows. Transformer blows, facility goes dark. Facility goes dark. Kid, you don't want to know what happens next. That's why I use Grainger. Grainger helps keep small problems from turning into big problems. Get it? Got it? Good. Call, click Grainger.com, or stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Liberty activists around the country are starting to realize politics alone won't set us free. So what will? At Liberty on the Rocks, we believe the answer starts with living your principles, spreading ideas, and connecting with those around you. By starting a Liberty on the Rocks network, you can make a difference by uniting libertarian thinkers. Find out how much fun it is to build your local network from the ground up. Visit libertyontherocks.org today to get started.
Here's a chance to do a little activism while you're cruising Facebook, Twitter, or Google+. Between the LOL cats, the recipes, the hot girls, and the inspirational sunrise memes, Free Talk Live's posts pass by your newsfeed. Like them, comment. It gives us more exposure. If you don't see our posts, click like at facebook.freetalklive.com and then hover over it to click Get Notifications. It's an easy way to spread the ideas of liberty a bit further. I know you're busy, but you can spare that 1/10 of a calorie it takes to click on something. facebook.freetalklive.com.
You're listening to the live edition of Free Talk Live. Hour number 2 is next, after the news, here on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
From Keene in the Shire, the Liberty Media capital of the world, this is Darrell W. Perry, host of FPP Radio News for Wednesday, September 3rd, 2014. Silver is trading at $19.17 per ounce. Gold is valued at $1,267 per ounce. And according to BitcoinAverage.com, the average price of Bitcoin is $479. Antiwar.com reports there has been wide speculation about the overall cost of Israel's nearly 2-month-long war on the Gaza Strip. Defense Minister Moshe Ya'alon stepped in yesterday to say the direct military cost of the war was about $9 billion. Ya'alon insisted the war would have been worth it at 3 times the price, citing the huge damage done to Hamas. A new poll showed Hamas is actually more popular in the Strip after the war. $9 billion is a huge chunk of Israel's annual $14 billion military budget and over 2 years' worth of U.S. military subsidies. That's only the direct military cost, a fraction of the overall cost to the Israeli economy, as the war hugely hurt the nation's important tourism industry. The Israeli government has struggled to sell the war as a great military victory, but apart from a large civilian death toll, there was very little measurable consequence to the war at all, and with Israel already facing a budget crisis over military spending, it wasn't a great time to dump money on a pointless war. FPP Radio News is brought to you by Roberts & Roberts Brokerage. For over 35 years, Roberts & Roberts has been a trusted source for buying and selling your investment-grade precious metals. They now take Bitcoin for purchasing precious metals so you can turn your profits into a long-term investment. Call Roberts & Roberts today for knowledgeable advice on investing. 800-874-9760. Reuters reports more than 1 million people have been uprooted by the conflict in Ukraine, including 260,000 within the country where further mass displacement is feared due to ongoing fighting. The United Nations said on Tuesday some Ukrainian nationals have fled by motorcycle to Russia, while others have escaped the crisis by spending the summer months at European spas or visiting grandparents. Vincent Cochetel, director of the UN High Commissioner for Refugees, Bureau for Europe, told reporters in Geneva, "It's safe to say you have over 1 million people now displaced as a result of the conflict, internally and externally together. That total includes 814,000 Ukrainians now in Russia with various forms of status, as well as compatriots who have fled to Belarus, Moldova, and the 3 Baltic states and the European Union. Of the 814,000 Ukrainian nationals who have entered Russia this year, 260,000 have applied for some sort of protective status. The remaining 554,000 have arrived on the basis of a visa-free regime, allowing them to stay up to 270 days. Cochetel added, "We see them arriving sometimes by foot, by bus, by motorcycle. Within Ukraine, most people displaced by earlier fighting have returned to areas retaken by the Ukrainian army." In the spirit of Motorhome Diaries and Liberty on Tour, I intend to take the message of peace, love, and liberty on the road. During the 104-day trip, I'll be visiting at least 10 cities across the country, speaking to people about the ideas of peace, love, and liberty. To find out more about the tour or to donate, visit tour.fppradio.com. That's tour.fppradio.com. Antiwar.com reports the Pentagon has confirmed an attack on Somalia on Monday, but offered no details until Tuesday morning, confirming it was a drone attack with several Hellfire missiles fired along the southern Somali coast. Perhaps even more interesting, President Obama is said not to have given specific authorization for the attack. The Pentagon says they had actionable intelligence that Ahmed Abdi Godane was in the area, and that this was the reason for the strike, and that President Obama had authorized any attack the Pentagon might want to launch that might hit Godane, so they didn't need a permission slip for this one. There were a number of people killed, though the Pentagon so far suggests they haven't identified any of the slain and can't confirm if the intended target, Ahmad Abdi Godane, a top al-Shabaab leader, was even present. Pentagon officials expressed hope that Godane was killed. As with so many other drone strikes targeting leaders of various factions, the U.S. seems to just lob missiles into the general direction of some people and then cross its fingers that it hit what it meant to. This has been FPP Radio News, online at fppradio.com.
With weather conditions in the Sahara among the most brutal in the world, the desert is a place suitable only for collapsing, dying, and rotting. Starvation is just one of the many possible outcomes for the gazelle or desert elk. It could also suffocate in a sandstorm, collapse of dehydration, or be run over by a dune buggy. Only the vulture has the wherewithal to survive in this nirvana of death. They feed on the dead of the Sahara. Uniquely adapted to the rigors of desert life, the vulture usually dies of heart disease after becoming overweight from the feast of carcasses. The landscape of the desert is dominated by towering sand dunes made from millions of years of ground-up bones. Another day ends in the Sahara, Earth's largest, most uncomfortable tomb.
This is the Onion News Network.
This is Free Talk Live. You can bring up anything right here, toll-free at 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-FREE. Join us online. Go to freetalklive.com and enjoy the features waiting for you on the site. They are totally free. Once again, that's freetalklive.com. With you in the studio tonight, Ian here.
Cantwell.
And Mark.
Chris Cantwell is with us here tonight. Chris, you brought in the issue you actually didn't get a chance to bring to the table last week. It was about threats and a court decision. Supreme Court, is it?
It's not a decision. They're deciding to hear the case is what's going on. So the highest court in the United States, the Supreme Court of the United States, is about to take up this case.
About threatening. And what does it mean to threaten someone?
Exactly. So the case is about Anthony Ilonis, and he... After he got divorced, him and his wife separated, and she took his kids and stuff, right? So he goes on Facebook and says things like he hopes that bad things happen to her, and he wants to kill cops, and he wrote rap lyrics to this effect and would put them on his Facebook profile. And there was an incident that the FBI...
So wait, he wrote his own lyrics, or they were lyrics from other songs?
Wrote his own lyrics.
Okay.
And so to my understanding, I obviously don't have every post right here in front of me, but my understanding is that the posts were sort of vague, not saying I'm going to come and kill this person at this time, right? It's I think that I hope that my wife dies and I want to kill cops and stuff like this.
How many rap songs have been written about, some ex that the rapper doesn't like anymore and wants to see bad things come to? Eminem, I think, has written some songs about his wife.
I'm sure there's some other brands of music that have done the same thing.
Yeah, every Eminem album has a song about him murdering Kim, I believe, right? So, this is a pretty common occurrence for somebody to say these things, in a rap song.
Seems like well-trodden ground in this case.
Yeah, but in this instance, the gentleman was sentenced to 4 years in jail.
Whoa.
And so he's
not as successful as Eminem, apparently.
Right, exactly. And this is sort of one of these things that, like, okay, he's Eminem and he's got, this voice and this audience and the money to fight
and
people in court. Yeah. And this gentleman clearly does not have any of these things. He's apparently been sort of cleaned out, had a rough divorce and a child custody situation.
How did
not uncommon, right?
I wonder how
not uncommon at all.
I wonder how he's afforded to pay up until this point.
I don't know, but it's, I imagine that whatever he has paid has certainly not helped his financial situation any to this point. And now he's facing 4 years in jail. And so
wouldn't he already have gone to jail in this case? Because in a lot of cases, you go to jail and they don't let you. If I were to go to jail here in a few months when I go to trial, I can appeal once and stay out and then go to the jury trial. But if I get convicted at the jury trial, even if I want to appeal to the Supreme Court, I'm going to sit in jail while the appeal processes.
Yeah, it doesn't. I haven't seen anything that says that he's in custody, but it's also not saying that he's out. It would seem to me like that would be like a relevant bit of information. But in the Engadget article that I have here, it doesn't say whether he's in custody or out on bail.
So this case is threatening to change the way threatening is considered legally, correct?
I think what it's looking to do is define it, right? Because, I mean, there's some difference of opinion here, right? And in my case, like, I've been worried about this. So for me personally, like, I know that there was an incident. Larkin Rose wrote this story, When Should You Shoot a Cop? And he got a visit from the feds afterwards. And people often say to me, there are people who accuse me of being a federal agent because I haven't been arrested for making threatening statements about police yet, right? And so this is a situation that, like, I'm sort of surprised by it too. I mean, you know, some of my articles have, you know, over 100,000 hits on them. They've been quoted in national newspapers and stuff like that about me talking about these ideas, and I'm terrified that I'm going to come get a visit from federal agents and I'm going to be locked up for sedition or something. And in this case, they're going to say, okay, when is this actually a threat, right? I wrote a rap song, right? I said, today I'm fighting back and stuff.
I remember that.
Yeah. And, you know, there's some statements in there about police that are not so kind, shall we say. And these types of things, if it's a crime to go out on the internet and make vague, nonspecific things about, make vague, nonspecific threats, well, by that standard, me personally, I could be locked up for that, right? I was extraordinarily worried about this in New York. New York has its own statute. They call it criminal anarchy. In New Hampshire, we have a constitutional right to revolution, so I imagine that this is somewhat diminished. But I'm still, you know, terrified that at some point I'm going to be prosecuted for statements that I've made. I'm pretty much planning on it. And so I hope that in this case that it does not, that the court overturns it, because if you're making, to me, a threat, right? If I say, I'm going to kill Ian Freeman, right? Like, that's a threat. We all pretty much understand that, and this justifies some sort of response.
It'd be
right?
even worse if you, like, took out a collection, you know, and, like, raised money for this activity.
Right. If I went on, like, one of these assassination market Bitcoin things or something like that, and, you know,
like, you gave out, like, say, a Bitcoin address on your website, and, like, you know, I don't know.
Yeah, you know, I mean, you start taking, you know, and well, that's another step into it, right? When you actually take action on your threat, right?
Correct.
So I mean, there's levels of a threat, right? So if I say I don't like this person very much, like, everybody sort of is like, okay, well, that's not a threat, right? But if I say I really want something bad to happen to this person, well, is that now a threat?
No,
you know, if I say
so.
I'm going to cause damage to this person,
That's a
okay,
threat.
now I'm threatening, right? If I go and I take action on that, if I start raising money to hire an assassin, right? Now I've actually engaged in a forward action, in a conspiracy to commit murder, right? So there's all these different levels to it, and I don't think it's particularly well defined. This is not the first time that we've heard about people being arrested for making threatening statements, you know, or saying that they have a desire to do damage to people or to government or whatever. And so
what's the issue in this case? This guy made some posts on Facebook. He wrote some lyrics for rap songs that sort of suggested he might want to hurt his ex-wife.
Yeah, and police. And so, like, he had gotten a visit from the FBI, right? And the FBI came and visited him, I guess, in a similar fashion to when they came and visited Larkin Rose, that they're like, hey, you know, we hear about, you know, you making these threats. And the FBI agent came, and he talked to the FBI agent, and the FBI agent did not take him into custody. After the FBI agent left, he was like, you know, I really wanted to slit that woman's throat on Facebook. And then they came back and they arrested him, right, and charged him with these I don't know exactly what statutes they're accusing him of violating here, but they charged him with crimes, and he's facing 4 years in jail, or is maybe
and
presently
these are federal?
serving it.
These are federal charges, or are they state?
I believe it was the FBI who picked him up, so it would seem to me that this is a federal case, and it's going to the Supreme Court.
So the Supreme Court is going to look at the issue of what is a threat. Now, legally, is there information in the story about what generally is considered to be a threat now? Because this may change that definition, right? Like, it may make it worse.
So here's from the Engadget article. It says, now the Supreme Court will have to decide whether or not the Facebook postings crossed a line. So they're not determining, you know, if you can threaten someone via Facebook, because you obviously can. They're determining the content of these threats, right? And unfortunately, they don't quote all of them to us here. But so the normal standard set for such cases is whether or not a reasonable person would feel threatened by the actions. But Alonis's attorneys argue that that isn't appropriate given the venue for the missives. The defendant's wife isn't his friend on Facebook, and he did not send her
they weren't
menacing.
directed to her, is what you're saying.
Right. So, like, he's not sending her a direct message. He's saying on Facebook, like, I want you to die and stuff like that, right? But he's saying, like, I want my ex-wife dead or something to that effect. I'm not quoting the guy, but this is the thing. He's just saying publicly on Facebook that he has these desires, right? So is his posting of his desires for bad things to happen, or that he wishes to go and do something, is that a threat?
And the lower courts are saying it was.
The lower courts are saying that it was. So the defendant's wife isn't his friend on Facebook, and he did not send menacing messages to her directly. Instead, he posted them them publicly to his own wall. Essentially, he never meant for her to see what he wrote, and those who saw his words might misinterpret them because they didn't know him personally. The government's counter-argument is that the law is designed to prevent violence, not just actual physical violence, but also the anguish that The government's counter-argument is that the law is designed to prevent not just physical violence, but also the anguish that the perceived threat causes. Ilonis's conviction has been upheld twice, and regardless how the court finds, the decision will have widespread implications for free speech, cyberbullying, and the internet in general.
The implication being that so long as someone feels like they could be put in danger based on what someone else says, even if it's not to them, that therefore it would be considered a threat.
Right, and I think it's an important differentiation because, like, I open carry in New Hampshire, and there's been a case here.
Let's come back with more here in moments. The toll-free number is 855-450-FREE. What's a threat? Ross Ulbricht was arrested by the FBI in 2013 and charged with victimless crimes in relation to allegedly operating the Bitcoin-based Silk Road black market. He has been in a prison cell awaiting trial ever since. If he did it, he's a hero for making the black market a safer place. If he did not, he's a man wrongfully accused. Either way, if you love freedom and want to end the war on drugs, Ross and his family need your support. You can learn more and help fund his defense at freeross.org. That's freeross.org.
Wake up and smell the freedom. One of the easiest things you can do to help Liberty is to torrent Freedom Fiends episodes to help keep them drone-proof. You can set up your home computer to download and share Freedom Fiends archives over BitTorrent. You can even set up scheduling so it only shares while you're asleep or at work. Put your unused computing power to work and help keep the Freedom Fiends around well into the future. Simply go to freedomfiends.com and click on the Torrent Club link and learn how to torrent and share Freedom Fiends archives.
Gold. It's like nothing else on Earth. From the Romans through the Renaissance, from the Industrial Age to the Space Age, gold has weathered the test of time. For 6,000 years, gold has remained the ultimate store of wealth. According to the World Gold Council and the U.S. Mint, demand is at an all-time high. The stage is being set for the reemergence of gold as the common-sense alternative to a fiat paper currency that gets weaker every day. Midas Resources is proud to offer the hard-hitting report that arms you with the truth you need to protect you and your family from the Fed's plans for your hard-earned money. Don't gamble with your future. Call Midas Resources today and ask for your free copy of As Good as Gold. Call 1-800-686-2237 for the report the Fed hopes you'll never see. As Good as Gold can be yours by calling 800-686-2237. If you have ever thought about owning gold, you must read this report. Call Midas today at 800-686-2237.
Excuse me, is this where I get a license to start a new business?
I wouldn't be hasty. You have to get a license to go out of business, too, you know.
Oh, well, look, I've invented this little anti-gravity machine, see?
Oh, is that why you're walking 2 inches above the floor?
Oh, yes, it's very comfortable. It saves on shoe leather.
Yeah, well, you have to fill out these forms and report to the Human Services Department of Manpower Orientation and register with the Fair Employment Practice Commission, the Wage and Hour Division of the Employment Standards Administration, the State Sales and Income Tax Division, the Internal Revenue Service, and the Social Security Administration of the Department of Health, Education, and Welfare, and, of course, OSHA.
OSHA? I thought that was a little town in Wisconsin.
You'll find out. Say, floating around like that could be dangerous. Have you checked with the Consumer Product Safety Commission?
Well, not yet.
Come to think of it, you actually are flying, aren't you? Look, you need to go over to the Federal Aviation Administration and the Transportation...
It's very hard to get anything done these days if you're in business, but free enterprise built this country. Think what could happen if we don't keep it free. A public service of this station and the Center for the Defense of Free Enterprise, Bellevue, Washington.
Besides, we just can't have people floating about unregulated, you know.
So you've heard all 3 hours of the latest episode of Free Talk Live, and you're still hungry for liberty-oriented audio content? Did you know that we have another 24/7 audio stream at LRN.FM? The Liberty Radio Network airs the latest episodes of some of the best liberty-oriented podcasts on the internet around the clock. In addition to recorded content, you'll also hear live shows like Free Talk Live, originating from our Keene, New Hampshire studio. So listen anytime at LRN.FM. That's LRN.FM.
Shiny badges on your jacket, shiny badges.
This is Davi Barker from ShinyBadges.com, and I just want to personally apologize for airing a jingle week after week, month after month, that turned out to be such an infectious brainworm. So to make it up to you, I'm offering a free gift. The next time you make a purchase at ShinyBadges.com, write worms in the transaction comments, and I'll send you something weird.
What's up next? Visit the Liberty Radio Network program guide to find out at shows.lrn.fm. That's shows.lrn.fm.
This is Free Talk Live, and of course, you can bring up anything that you want. All you have to do is dial in toll-free at 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. Join us online. Go to freetalklive.com. Lots of great features await you on our website, and we'll even give you a free pound of coffee.
Yeah, if you go to coffee.freetalklive.com, you can get a free pound of coffee. We make it easy for you to get the best of the best coffee. You pay for the shipping, we'll give you the pound. Well, actually, BuzzBox will do it, but we've partnered with them. It's shade-grown, 100% organic, and top 1% grade Arabica beans. It's a subscription, and for every 10 people that get their coffee through coffee.freetalklive.com, we're able to give it another microloan to another family around the world so that they can live a better life. And in order to have human freedom, you have to have a certain amount of independence, and financial independence comes into play. So if you want to support human freedom, get your coffee. You're already drinking coffee. You know you are. Just get it delivered to you so you don't have to go to the store to get it anymore. Coffee.freetalklive.com.
All right, so we'll continue here. We're talking about threats and what is a threat. It's not just this story, of course, Chris. We've been talking in the past about remember the guy that got arrested for writing some lyrics on his Facebook profile in Boston shortly after the Boston bombing?
Right.
So there was that guy, and I don't even know what happened to him. I don't know if he's still facing charges or what's going on with
those charges got dropped.
Oh,
and
thank goodness.
Yeah, and the thing, so I'm interested. We knew more about exactly what that gentleman had said, and I almost wish that he had become the test case, right? Because his really was like very innocuous. Like he was talking about like school shootings or something like that, but he was talking about he was a guy who rapped on a regular basis, and this was clearly an artistic expression, and they charged him anyway, but they ended up dropping the charges because they were afraid of winding up in the Supreme Court as they have in this case.
I wonder if he countersued in that case because they held him in jail for a while, if I'm recalling correctly.
I believe they did, and I don't know anything if there was a follow-up lawsuit. I'll be interested.
I didn't expect you to, so I appreciate that.
But like the thing is, the question is now, is a threat when you actually threaten a person where you're making a direct threat, or is a person's annoyance or alarm sufficient cause to use force against a person, to kidnap a person and put them in jail for 4 years, right?
I say it's not.
I say it's not either. And so like we've got in New Hampshire, we've got open carry here. You can legally open carry a weapon, and there's a court case in New Hampshire that says that's your right to do it, and a person's annoyance or alarm is not a factor. Not a factor. Now, on the other hand, in like North Carolina, I wrote a story about a woman who was arrested for open carrying an unloaded rifle through her neighborhood. Now, there's no law against open carrying in North Carolina, but they have like a what they call a common law thing that the courts basically made up, that is going armed to the terror of the people, right? That if you walk through North Carolina with weapons that scare people, you can be arrested for carrying that weapon, and it's not really very well defined. So this woman was charged with a misdemeanor and had her weapons confiscated and stuff like that, and I believe the charges were eventually dropped, but this is you have these obvious differences in laws between different states, and how courts determine that, on a federal level, if they're going to say, well, the First Amendment doesn't guarantee your right to write violent rap lyrics, or the Supreme Court doesn't says that you don't have the right to talk about violence on the internet. Well, this clearly affects me very directly. It affects a lot of different music. I think it's a pretty important and widespread thing.
So basically, the idea right now legally is that in order for something to be a threat, that it should have a direct message to someone, that it should be a specific intention to harm, or you're speaking words that say you're going to cause harm to that person. But if you make a general statement out into the ether that you're posting on your Facebook profile, you're not aiming something directly at that person, even if you use their name to that in that general Facebook post.
So
is that a threat?
It depends.
I'm going to kill my ex-wife,
right?
Or I'd like to kill my ex-wife.
Right.
Not I'm going to, but
I'd like to kill my ex-wife is a remarkably different statement than I'm going to kill my ex-wife, right? So I don't think that the statement needs to necessarily be directed at the victim, right?
Mm-hmm.
So like if he goes on his Facebook and says I'm going to kill my ex-wife, well, this is a threat, right? This is something that he's putting out there. He's openly telling people that he intends to do something, right? I think the question of a threat is an intent, right? So if I go and I make a rap song about killing police officers, right? And if I make a rap song that says I'm going to kill officer so and so, these are two very different things, right? I'm directing a threat at a person versus expressing my outrage at this violent criminal organization that's locking people up for possessing plants.
So I'm curious on this. When it comes to writing a song, I mean, is it possible to it is not possible to legally write a song that says, the chorus is I'm going to kill my ex-wife. I'm going to kill my ex-wife. I have no ex-wife, by the way, people.
That's why I said it like that too.
Right, but I mean it's interesting that you can really you can't do that?
Yeah, one of the things that I did a quote from him that I read in another article about the story says he made a post at one point after the FBI left that he said, it's illegal for me to tell you that I want to kill my ex-wife, but it's not illegal for me to tell you that it's illegal that I want to kill my ex-wife. You know what I mean? Like there's these, these lines, are
this guy was trying to dance along the lines of, what's legal and what's not legal.
Right.
Sometimes I consider those people to be heroes. In this case, I tend not to feel that way. He seems much more like a petulant, damaged man than anything else. But
the dangerous proposal that's on the table here is that it will change from it being required that there be some sort of target for the threat in an actual threat to a statement that could offend someone into thinking that they're somehow under, threat of violence, that they're scared. If somebody's scared, then therefore it's a threat.
If your words alarm somebody, then you might be threatening, and that's something that's very
what the lower
subjective.
Courts are suggesting.
Yeah.
And
here's
the
what
Supreme
I want to
Court
know.
is being asked to look at.
The wife's alarm is the crime.
Yeah.
Here's what I want to know on this one, though, is let's say somebody walks up to someone and says, I'm going to kill you. And they sound for all the world to be very, very serious. And then they turn around and they walk away. Are you allowed to pull out a gun at that point and shoot that person in the back?
Good question.
I would.
I mean, because if that's a threat, then, if we're talking about this person has created a situation where they have, I'm in immediate danger. I don't know when they're going to kill me.
You could have thought they were taking 20 paces and would turn around and shoot you, right?
You don't know. I mean, who knows? I don't know what the answer to this is.
Of course,
because
then you've got to prove in a court that, when they charge you with murder that, he told me he was going to kill me.
Well, let's say we've got it on video.
Yeah.
Let's say it's abundantly clear. Because all the police are is an agent. All they are is somebody who's able to do what you're able to do, supposedly. This is the idea in a free world where we have, under rights theory, you cannot, you can't license out rights that you don't have. So a police officer has no more rights than the individual whom they're protecting. So it's obvious that a police officer can come and kidnap somebody who made such a statement because we would never even question a police officer's ability to do that. However, if they've got the ability to do that, then I have the ability to protect myself. And I would be able to shoot somebody who said this.
I would make the argument that, a person who just said it and sort of walked away, and it would depend on your own perception of the threat, right?
Right.
I mean, if you what is the level of force that you need to use to deal with that threat, and that's the delineation on the use of force.
We'll come back with more. This is Free Talk Live.
Summertime is save big time at Herbal Healer Academy. Long-term customers know summer is the time to stock up at herbalhealer.com. And for new customers, welcome to the web's best place to save on vitamins, minerals, and more.
Log on for summer specials including all sizes of colloidal silver, colloidal minerals, and intestinal freedom on sale. Choose from Herbal Healer's great variety of weight loss products like apple cider vinegar, Hoodia, and Metabolic Complex and Pro-Metabolic, all on sale now. Also, the anti-parasite Intestinal Freedom and Wormwood Plus Complex, plus Stevia Liquid Sweetener and the Super Enzymes, all on sale for summer at herbalhealer.com. As always, we offer certificate correspondence courses in natural medicine. Enjoy same-day shipping and free online newsletter. Log on now to herbalhealer.com and look for summer specials to save big with our nation's leader in supplying quality natural medicine and education since 1988. Herbal Healer Academy.
Since time began, tyrants have taken aim at personal liberties. Now there's a movie that aims back.
The government has no more right to tell us what to put in our bodies than they have to take our guns or tell us what books we can read.
6 drug police were eaten by bears while raiding a marijuana farm.
On your knees, you dirty hippies! Jesus. On your knees! What's the problem, officer?
Today, many cops who enforce pot laws do so only because it provides them with cushy jobs, good benefits, and a chance to push people around.
I was an undercover narcotics officer. The drug war is nothing but a farce.
The Second Amendment says you gotta keep you and your gat intact.
Guns and Weed, The Road to Freedom. A film by Michael W. Dean and Nima Vadadi.
DVD available now at gunsandweed.com or on Amazon. That's gunsandweed.com. Makes the perfect gift. Remember, that's gunsandweed.com.
Have you ever wanted to help a hardworking person get their business off the ground? Then join me in enjoying some BuzzBox coffee. Let's make a difference, 1 cup at a time. Join us in helping people buy their own coffee farms through at least 100 microloans via World Vision. Free Talk Live coffee drinkers will truly change lives forever. To get the best coffee you've ever tasted, it's organic, shade-grown, and top 1% Arabica grade. Go to coffee.freetalklive.com. The first pound's free, just cover shipping.
DVD, books, music, instruments, periodicals, computers, software, electronics, photo, cell phones, office products, home and garden, bed and bath, furniture, kitchen, pet supplies, automotive, hardware, apparel, shoes, jewelry, grocery, healthcare, sports and outdoors, toys, games, used, and more. It's a department store at your fingertips. Shop.freetalklive.com. Get all your shopping done, get a great deal, and a portion of your purchase goes to benefit Free Talk Live when you enter Amazon via shop.freetalklive.com. Why did you move to the Shire?
I moved here to the Shire because there's other people around who take liberty just as seriously as I do.
I moved to the Shire because I saw videos of people challenging authority and thought that I could get support myself. It called to me, like, do this right now.
I wanted to be around people like me who got it. And once I got here, I knew there was nowhere else that I wanted to be.
I've always wanted to change the world. So I moved to the Shire to join people who were actually working towards doing the same thing.
The people here are awesome, loving, and positive. It was for the adventure and for the feeling of something important is happening here. And I just wanted to come to sort of be part of that.
Visit ShireSociety.com to read and sign the Shire Society Declaration and learn the reasons why, if you love liberty, you should immigrate to the Shire. Plus, add yourself to the Shire map at ShireSociety.com. That's ShireSociety.com.
If you enjoy LRN.FM, please contribute to your favorite shows via their websites and become an amplifier at amp.lrn.fm. That's amp.lrn.fm.
This is Free Talk Live, and you can bring up anything that you want. We're right here taking your calls about anything at all at 855-450-FREE. If you make them, we can talk to you about threatening. What does it mean to threaten someone? Is it what the person feels like, or is it the actual content of the statement that is made? There's apparently some lower court decisions that have basically suggested that it depends on what the person feels like. And if the person feels like they've been threatened by something that you have said, then that's good enough, apparently.
Right.
And that's what the Supreme Court's going to be looking at here in a case that Chris Cantwell has been telling us about here tonight. You can go to ChristopherCantwell.com to read more of him and also get the Some Garbage podcast, now entering into what episode? 15, 16? Where are you at?
I think the next one will be 14. I think I've got 13 episodes up.
All over at ChristopherCantwell.com.
40% of all debt collections are due to unpaid medical bills. AsiaRunLikeHellGuide.com has a solution for that. Now, what AsiaRunLikeHellGuide.com is it's a site where this guy, Glenn, does brokerage for a large hospital in Bangkok. It's got 300 doctors, surgeons, dentists. They serve 300,000 patients a year from 40 different countries. Please go to his website, AsiaRunLikeHellGuide.com, and take a look at the services that they provide there. Because this really is, in my opinion, the solution to the American medical healthcare problem. Let me just give you some examples here. Heart bypass surgery, $10,000. That's $150,000 here in the United States. You're talking about far less than 10% of the cost. Heart valves, just under $13,000, $170,000 here in the United States. That is a big, big difference. You can do your 10% copay and spend more than you would by going over to Bangkok. That's assuming you do have medical coverage. Many Americans don't. I don't. Yeah. So with flights, hotel, medical, recuperation time, and you're still under the copay. If you don't have health insurance, avoid bankruptcy, save your life savings, save your home. Just go to AsiaRunLikeHellGuide.com and check it out. Go give Glenn a call. That's what he does. He helps people like you. Yeah, I understand the websites can be confusing. You can just go there, take a look, give him a call. He'll be able to help you out. By the way, for those who might be interested, in vitro fertilization, $3,850. That is significantly lower. People are spending their life savings in order to have children, and I understand why they would. You can save a lot by simply going to AsiaRunLikeHellGuide.com. Go to the site, visit, give Glenn a call, AsiaRunLikeHellGuide.com.
You know, we've been talking about what is it that constitutes a threat, and the big question here that's going to be in front of the Supreme Court to some extent is, what is a threat? I mean, and previously it's been the statements that are made, whether or not they actually constitute a threat. Now it seems like some courts are arguing that it should be the feelings of the alleged threatee, the receiver of the threat, the threatened. And that's pretty disturbing, although I'm sure that if the Supreme Court rules in favor of the lower courts and lets their decisions stand, and therefore that changes the standard to it being the supposed victim's feelings, I imagine that's not going to apply to me because, like, I feel threatened by the police on a regular basis. The government. Yeah. I mean, I feel threatened. I mean, you were saying earlier, Chris, that you're scared that the feds are going to come after you with some sort of indictment for some of the lyrics that you've written in a rap song at some point in the past. We see the police with militarized equipment in the streets, the Bearcat, the MRAP, this mine-resistant vehicle. I mean, those are all very threatening to me. So I'd like to, if this goes through, I'd like to go ahead and lodge a formal complaint for threatening against the police, but I imagine they're just going to throw that in the circular file because, well, the laws don't apply to the police like they apply to the rest of us.
They'll probably arrest you for making false claims and stuff.
Yeah. You couldn't possibly be afraid of us. We're here to protect you.
I think I don't know. Maybe they just admit that you being afraid of them is the whole point.
Yeah.
Duh. Why do you think we wear black uniforms?
Yeah.
Why do you think we wear the sunglasses? Mm-hmm. Why do you think we roll around and with this crazy military equipment?
Why do you think we shoot dogs?
We're supposed to be making you scared.
So,
if you didn't fear us, you wouldn't obey us.
In these recent weeks, of course, since the Ferguson, Missouri situation with the violence and the police cranking up the police state there for everyone to see, it certainly brought the issue of the militarization of the police to the forefront. And for better or for worse, there's been some good things that have happened. Davis, California, just recently threw back the MRAP, from what I understand. There's I don't know what the size of the town is there, Davis, but they got themselves one of these mine-resistant assault vehicles, and they have sent. They've got a time window. The city council apparently has voted to figure out how to get rid of this damn thing. So that's good news, right? Like, they're moving forward to try to at least have the appearance of demilitarizing their police force. In fact,
I would love to be at that auction.
yeah, I don't know how they're going to do it. I don't know if they're just going to return it or try to auction it. That presents some interesting challenges as to what do you do now that you've got this $300,000 vehicle, or I don't know how much the MRAPs are. I know it was $300,000 for the Bearcat that they have here in Keene, or close to it. So I don't know, maybe it's more for an MRAP. But either way, what the hell do you do with this thing? It could be fun to auction it, but some have suggested it might also be fun to have one of those bash up the car games. You know, have you ever been to the fair where you get the huge mallet or the sledgehammer and you give them like $5 or something like that, and they let you take 20 whacks at a car, like an old junk car or something like that?
I have never personally done it, but it sounds wonderful.
Yeah, like I'm sure it would be pretty difficult to do that to a Bearcat, considering it's armored, and I don't know how much of a dent you could make in these things.
Put it on the range with a 50 cal and just
sooner or later.
So
incendiary rounds.
So I'm glad to see that happening. I'm glad to see that some people are at the very least pushing back. In fact, this I think is breaking news. I don't think the local press has broken this yet. But if you've been listening to Free Talk Live for a little while, or you've been reading freekeen.com, you know that as far back as a couple years ago in 2011, 2012, actually when you were first living here, Chris, we of course were opposing the Bearcat. They were proposing to get this thing from the federal government, this military surplus stuff, this armored attack truck thing, the Bearcat. And they got it, but there was a lot of pushback against it here in Keene. In fact, the Lenco manufacturer that creates the Bearcat, their head salesman was called in to come to a Keene City Council meeting to try to save the sale. They had already kind of figured it was in the bag, but then there was this huge outpouring of opposition amongst the people in the community. But people on the left, people on the right, people all over the place were opposed to this idea. And the city meeting was packed. I mean, it was so packed, they had to turn people away. They said that the fire code was reached. They couldn't fit any more people in the room. They would have to let someone in when someone left. So they literally had people, police and firemen down on the first floor of the city building, preventing people from going into this meeting at a certain point. So it was very, very popular, the idea of not having a Bearcat.
Yeah, and as I remember the coverage, it didn't seem that there was very much in the way of support for this measure. It was
just from the police.
Yeah.
The police supported it, and the former police supported it. And, of course, the city councilors ultimately went with what the police wanted and not what the people wanted.
Well, if somebody wanted to give me a free Bearcat, I'd support it too.
I don't know
it's
if I'd want
an awesome toy, you know. I mean,
gas mileage sucks.
Yeah, the gas mileage has to stink in this thing. You can go get. I've looked on eBay. You can go get armored vehicles. They're there, and you can
get a lot
get
cheaper than a Bearcat.
In some cases, you can get a running vehicle for less than $10,000,
like an old police vehicle.
Yeah, a little police vehicle or an old armored truck where they delivered money and that kind of thing.
Oh yeah, one of those.
I mean, that's essentially what most of these things are. I mean, really, it's deadly. If you took a rifle and you stick it out of one of the gun ports on these things, you're deadly in this, just like the police with their turret on top of the Bearcat.
Oh, they got gun ports on the Bearcat too, but
Indeed.
They also have the turret on top. So anyway, my point being that there was this big pushback here in Keene, and now the very same city councilor who was the lone voice against the Bearcat, he has now put in a proposal that will be heard for the first time tomorrow night here in Keene to return the Bearcat.
Good. I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, I'm very excited about that.
As I love that idea, that's fine, but I don't think it's going to happen. But I would love to see
it happened in Davis.
I would love to see them paint it pink.
It's a different situation now. Now America's to some extent more awake to the militarization of police, and I think this counselor's smart for doing this. There's more coming up here, and we'll fill you in. Free Talk Live. You take control.
This is Mark Edge of Free Talk Live, and I've got something awesome to share with you. I've recently joined Liberty.me. It's an online city devoted to people who love liberty. Break free of the flame wars and bridge-dwelling denizens of Facebook. You deserve better. You deserve a friendly, ad-free social network where you can chat 24 hours a day with like-minded souls around the world. Attend live interactive classes with experts on economics, finance, politics, and money. Access a vast library of books and discuss them them with your reading group. Better your life with exclusive self-help guides on investing, self-defense, homeschooling, security, healthcare, saving money, and starting a business. Become a libertarian luminary yourself and get paid in the process by publishing your works on Liberty.me. Get tipped via PayPal and Bitcoin.
The first step towards freedom is to invest in yourself. Start your free 30-day trial now at Liberty.me.
I love being a member of Liberty.me, and I think you will too. The first month is free. Sign up and say hello. I love My Magic Mud. I drink a lot of coffee. I had stains on my teeth. Then I found My Magic Mud, and I was told it would remove stains. So I paid attention when I brushed the first time. My Magic Mud is black tooth powder, and the difference it made in my teeth in one application was noticeable. With 4, my teeth were as white as you normal folks out there. Please go to mymagicmud.com and buy a jar. There's 150 applications for $25. You can use Bitcoin, mymagicmud.com.
Hi, this is Larry Smith. Sometimes bad things happen to good people. When the cleaners ruined some special clothing, all they could do was show us a sign that said they weren't responsible. But when they got the letter from one of our Legal Shield attorneys, he promptly gave us a check for $1,152. Worry less and live more with lsprotection.com. That's lsprotection.com, or call 855-340-SAVE. That's 855-340-7283.
Results will vary from case to case.
Hi, I'm Derek J. I don't want a politician to represent me. To me, government is the idea that one group of people can coerce everyone to comply with an edict, or face increasing punishments up to and including death. Despite perhaps the most noble of intentions, the best government services are a far cry from what could be provided for by voluntary interactions. Besides, the people who call themselves the government wage wars and put peaceful people in jail for crimes involving no victims. If Starbucks used some of its money to drop bombs, I wouldn't shop there. So why would I support the American empire? The empire does not require my consent.
Derek J's Victimless Crime Spree. Watch it for free and order the Director's Cut DVD at victimlesscrimespree.com. That's victimlesscrimespree.com.
The 3 most important things you can do for Free Talk Live are: 1, share one episode a week on Facebook or in some other social networking site. 2, buy the things you buy online through shop.freetalklive.com. 3, give $5 a month to the AMP program. It's my firm belief that Free Talk Live's AMP program is the best use of your charitable dollar among liberty-oriented organizations. Support all the organizations you love, but make sure you give $5 a month to AMP at amp.freetalklive.com.
Ross Ulbricht was arrested by the FBI in 2013 and charged with victimless crimes in relation to allegedly operating the Bitcoin-based Silk Road black market. He has been in a prison cell awaiting trial ever since. If he did it, he's a hero for making the black market a safer place. If he did not, he's a man wrongfully accused. Either way, if you love freedom and want to end the war on drugs, Ross and his family need your support. You can learn more and help fund his defense at freeross.org. That's freeross.org.
You can watch the LRN Studio Cam and chat with other listeners anytime at cam.lrn.fm. That's cam.lrn.fm.
Free.
This is Free Talk Live, and you can dial toll-free here at 855-450-FREE and bring up anything that's on your mind, 855-450-3733. You can join us over on freetalklive.com and enjoy all the features waiting for you there. If you like the show and you want to help support Free Talk Live, get your shopping done at shop.freetalklive.com. Lots of different options there, including Amazon, where if you shop there, Free Talk Live gets a cut.
Come to the Marijuana Investment Conference with me. It's
in America.
Yeah, it is in America. It's in Houston, as a matter of fact. It's the first annual Marijuana Investment Conference. It is Monday. I'm going to be there and mingling and finding out what the trends are in the nascent and burgeoning field of marijuana, recreational, medical. I want to know. The market's new and wide open. Lots of people are going to make lots of money. This isn't some kind of pothead convention with bongs on sale. The Marijuana Investment Conference is focused exclusively on bringing investors and legalized marijuana businesses together to create opportunities and to grow the sector.
marijuanainvestmentconferences.com. If you're interested, you've got a business, marijuana-oriented business, or you're interested in finding out about, how to make a bunch of money. This is going to be a wide open field, and a lot of people are going to make a lot of money in it. Join me at the Westin Houston Memorial City on Monday, September the 8th, bright and early. Register now, marijuanainvestmentconferences.com. Use coupon code FTL. I'll have some Free Talk Live stuff to give away. It's marijuanainvestmentconferences.com. Coupon code FTL. Let me know when you use that coupon code, too, because there's a little problem as far as coupon codes at one point.
So they should let you know by emailing you at
freetalklive.com. That'd be great. Thank you.
All right, our toll-free number is 855-450-FREE. So what I was talking about a moment ago is this idea that at least it seems as though awareness about militarization of the police has increased. I don't know if it's penetrated all of the population, but it's certainly some people are more aware now as a result of the way the police were behaving in Ferguson, Missouri, and all the news coverage that was coming out about that, and they're abusing people and being awful, as they generally tend to do. It's just that we've known about this stuff for years. The average person is usually pretty easily able to avoid this sort of news, but the Ferguson thing pushed it into the spotlight to some extent. I think, obviously it wasn't good what was happening there, but the exposure for the police state, I think, has done some good things, like Davis, California is now going to return the MRAP vehicle that their police department had. Keene, New Hampshire, now the very same city councilor who was the only person to oppose the Bearcat initially on the city council, who created his refusal to support this thing encouraged the activists in the area, myself included, to go out there and petition and hit the streets and do activism surrounding this issue. And now it's back. Now he's bringing it back. So I'm very excited to continue to report on what goes on there. But on the other side of things, so that's the good news from Ferguson. On the other side of things is this story out of the newamerican.com, where prominent celebrities and leaders of the Congressional Black Caucus have endorsed a major nationalization of local police forces with an August 25th letter to President Obama, creating for the creation of a federal police czar and greater federal controls over law enforcement in the wake of the Ferguson, Missouri shooting and protests.
You know what will solve this? More centralized power.
Well, and that is the
Who's the
proposal
organization that's giving these police officers their militarized stuff?
The feds.
Okay, let's just make a federal position then.
It's a terrible idea, but this is what some people believe, is that, when the local governments are out of control, we've got to have the feds come in, is what happened during, for instance, the civil rights era. The feds had to come in and make sure that people could go into the schools equally in Alabama. And, in this case, the FBI has been investigating the criminality by the police in Ferguson, Missouri, and we need to have the feds come in and make sure that the police departments are behaving well. Every now and then, the FBI will send in some agents into a misbehaving police department in some sort of a public relations effort to make things look better. These things have happened before.
And police have been prosecuted by the feds before for civil rights violations and that sort of thing. And of course, it
makes them look like the good guy.
Right. And the what do you call it? I've seen people use federal courts to strike down state laws and stuff like that. So I mean, I'm not entirely opposed to the tactic of escalating things up the ladder to the centralized government if there's some hope of getting the central government to strike down something that the local government did, because of course whatever I can do to get the government out of my life, good. Unfortunately, it does have this bad effect that these are power grabs in many cases by the federal government, where they're dictating what a local government can do, and that simply the federal government will then use force to threaten and stop the state and local government.
Yeah, so this is a disturbing idea. Quote, "The administration must appoint a federal czar," claims the letter, housed in the U.S. Department of Justice, who is specifically tasked with promoting the professionalization of local law enforcement, monitoring egregious law enforcement activities, and adjudicating suspicious actions of local law enforcement agencies that receive federal funding. The letter is signed by all these different people, including some actresses and blah, blah, blah. The letter is a direct result of the shooting in Ferguson, Missouri, and the subsequent protests. And then there's another excerpt here. Allegations that law enforcement has not applied the laws fairly upon black Americans are based on statistics showing that blacks are convicted of an inordinate number of gun crimes and receive stiffer sentences for the same gun crimes. And Senator Rand Paul has made a very public issue of that disparity. The Washington Post libertarian blogger Radley Balco noted on July 22nd that last year, 47.3% of those convicted for federal gun crimes were black, a racial disparity larger than any other class of federal crimes, including drug crimes. And in a 2011 report on mandatory minimum sentencing for gun crimes, the U.S. Sentencing Commission found that blacks were far more likely to be charged and convicted of federal gun crimes that carry mandatory minimum sentences. There's no doubt that there are some real institutionalized racism among the police departments, among many police departments in America. But asking the federal government to step in and solve these issues, I don't think is going in the right direction at all.
Yeah, I don't think that the federal – look, it's not as if the federal government is in the habit. They're talking about, we got to make sure that the police departments are professional. Like, the federal government goes into another country and just starts murdering people. Like, I don't think –
the FBI doesn't even take notes. They don't record interviews.
Right. It's crazy. The idea that the highest law enforcers in the land, the group, the premier law enforcers in the land, don't have to – audio tape.
Or was it they do take notes? They do take notes, but they
take notes.
Don't record.
I'm sorry. Yeah, I knew what you meant, and I was confused. They just take notes. They don't audio record anything that goes on.
It's a policy. They have a policy against it.
So if they decide, they get together, they decide to lie about what happened, or they misinterpreted what somebody said, a jury never gets an opportunity to hear it.
Let's go to Chris. He's in Connecticut, calling from the police state of Connecticut. You're on Free Talk Live, Chris.
Yes, sir. Hey, good to talk to you all.
Hey there.
You were on the subject of Bearcats before and what to do with them. I agree with Mark's philosophy that you should paint them red and probably give them to the fire department. And it is a shame that we can't trust our policing forces because, if I had some kind of tactical group, I would probably want some kind of armored vehicle to do my job if it was just preserving life, liberty, and property,
Yeah, I don't personally have my problem is that law enforcement as it stands just can't be trusted with the powers that it already has, so why give them more weapons? I don't personally have a problem with the idea, the militarization of the police is something that I've sort of not wanted to chime in on, because if I were to hire a protection agency of some sort, I'd hire the most heavily armed protection agency. I'd hire the baddest guys in town.
I barely even trust the state and town fire departments at this point because they're so affiliated with the police. But if I may also continue on the Bearcat subject.
Please. Yeah, just 1 second before you go on, I want to talk about the painting it a different color. Because I think that the issue of militarization with the police, it's an attitudinal thing. It's you got guys in there that are, hoo-ha, we're G.I. Joe. And many of them, some of them have gone and served in the military. Some of them haven't either. They're just playing guns and cops and robbers. And the last thing you want to do is give somebody like that a vehicle that's painted black, army green, desert tan.
But Hello Kitty pink, on the other hand.
Right, Hello Kitty pink. What that does is that gets them right in the soft spot, right? Like it makes them feel less of a man. Are you kidding me? We got to drive around a pink armored vehicle. Yeah. What do you care? You're supposed. This is supposed to be about protecting life and limb here. This is supposed to be about stopping bullets. It'll stop bullets just fine. I
hear you on the pink. But the red is obviously more of a realistic idea that might actually work, and the suggestion might actually take.
I think if you painted,
firefighters need bulletproof vehicles for.
I think if you painted the Bearcat pink, that what you'd have is greater acceptance of the Bearcat within the community, and I think that would be a worst case scenario.
Please sell me the Bearcat for $10,000, but I'm just stretching it.
Chris, I know you had more comments. Hang on, we can bring it back here in hour number 3, which is coming up next. 855-450-FREE is the toll-free number. That's 855-450-3733. We've got all kinds of stuff to talk about. Rape is going to be on the table here in hour number 3. This is Free Talk Live.
At the Home Depot, buy one or more pallets of GAF Royal Sovereign 3-tab shingles and save up to 20%. Let's raise the roof, but lower the cost with bulk pricing on GAF, America's #1 shingle, featuring advanced protection technology. This is worth shouting from the rooftops. Let's do this. Up to 20% off one or more pallets of select GAF shingles. More saving, more doing. That's the power of the Home Depot. Valid through September 17th, U.S. only. See store for details.
Are you searching for your soulmate? Someone you can trust, who will never betray you or cooperate with the NSA? Stop searching. With EasyDNS, you found a keeper. EasyDNS does it all. Domain names, web hosting, and managed WordPress hosting. EasyDNS stands up for your internet freedom, and with servers in Canada, they do not cooperate with the NSA. Go to EasyDNS.com. You'll love their services or get a full refund. They guarantee it. And they accept Bitcoin. That's EasyDNS.com.
35% of U.S. credit accounts are facing collection agencies. Of that 35, almost 40% are the result of medical bills. Before uninsured friends or family go in for medical treatment, send them to AsiaRunLikeHellGuide.com. No computer tracing, no tracking cookies. They will not go on a list. Privacy matters. Just tell us what you need, get a quote. Fractions of U.S. prices. AsiaRunLikeHellGuide.com.
You can listen to Free Talk Live on the radio, podcast, satellite, webcam, and our live streams. But did you know you can listen to Free Talk Live from any phone, anywhere? Add this number to your phone, 213-493-0308. It's a long-distance call, so make sure you're familiar with your phone's calling plan. The listen lines are airing the latest episode of Free Talk Live 24 hours a day, including our live shows. Call 213-493-0308. That's 213-493-0308.
You're listening to the live edition of Free Talk Live. Hour number 3 is next after the news here on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
This is the Liberty Beat, your daily source for Liberty news and activist updates, online at thelibertybeat.com. I'm Brian Hagan with your Liberty Beat for Wednesday, September 3rd, 2014. Gold opened today at $1,267, silver opened at $19.14, and Bitcoin is trading around $477.63. Today's Bitcoin price brought to you by ExpressCoin, the fastest and most reliable way to buy Bitcoin. Buy Bitcoin today at expresscoin.com. Support for the Liberty Beat comes from the Michael Cargill for Austin City Council District 1 campaign. Vote Michael Cargill to get the cars moving. Learn more or sign up to volunteer at cargillfortexas.com. This political advertisement paid for by the Michael Cargill for Austin City Council District 1 campaign. In the news today, this weekend, close to 300 people gathered in Little Rock, Arkansas for the 18th annual Rethinking Everything Conference. The event is centered around the ideas of unschooling and conscious living. Among the speakers at the event were liberty activists John Bush, Catherine Bleich, and Antonio Beeler. John Bush caught up with conference organizer Kevin Sabarin to learn more about what unschooling is all about.
Unschooling in the pure sense is simply homeschooling without a curriculum, but in the broader sense it's really a lifestyle. It's about living a life of self-design, allowing the kids to be in charge where the parents facilitate and actually partner with the kids. That's what we do here at the Rethinking Everything Conference.
Held at the C.A. Vines Arkansas 4-H Center, the conference provided opportunities for children and adults to learn and play and families to connect.
We tried the 4-H Center in Little Rock with 1,200 acres of land and space for the kids to run around, and we had a wonderful time.
The conference formally came to an end Tuesday and is followed the rest of the week by an informal retreat. To learn more, visit rethinkingeverything.com. The Electronic Frontier Foundation is calling on all activists and privacy advocates to join in a fight against the Cybersecurity Information Sharing Act. The EFF calls it a privacy-invasive bill that will allow companies legal immunity to spy on users and share their information with agencies such as the NSA. The watchdog group is asking those concerned with the bill to tweet and email senators demanding that they not support it. The bill is the latest in a wave of cybersecurity legislation that has been rejected by the public. Support for the Liberty Beat comes from My Magic Mud, all natural teeth whitener. Go to mymagicmud.com to hear a short interview with Dr. Griffin Cole. That's mymagicmud.com. And today's edition of the Liberty Beat is brought to you by Brave New Books, your source for all things Bitcoin. Now hosting a Bitcoin ATM. Located in Austin, Texas, 1904 Guadalupe Street, or online, bravenewbookstore.com. This is the Liberty Beat for Wednesday, September 3rd, 2014. Check out the website at thelibertybeat.com and like us on Facebook, facebook.com, The Liberty Beat. Incarcerated political activist Schaefer Cox, who was convicted to 26 years in prison on conspiracy charges, has been digging through 250 gigabits of discovery information as he approaches his October 1st appeal. Cox was targeted by the FBI after giving a speech titled The Solution in Montana shortly after the Continental Congress of 2009, organized by the We the People Foundation. A man of peace, Cox soon found himself surrounded by FBI informants who repeatedly tried to get him to initiate acts of violence against the government. Cox always refused. Well, this week, Cox uncovered an email from the FBI field office that states Cox is gaining considerable national recognition and an intervention is now necessary. It's becoming increasingly clear that Cox has been targeted for his political views and was entrapped by the FBI. The Liberty Beat will continue to monitor this story as new information becomes available. The Pentagon announced that recent military operations in Iraq have cost around $560 million since mid-June. Pentagon Press Secretary Rear Admiral John Kirby stated that the daily average cost is around $7.5 million. The operations include airstrikes and surveillance flights meant to monitor and repel the Islamic State. There have been around 110 airstrikes since August 8th. The Pentagon also confirmed the deployment of security forces in Baghdad and Erbil to protect American personnel and facilities. Support for Liberty Beat comes from Marjorie Wildcraft's Grow Your Own Groceries. Homegrown food on every table. That's growyourowngroceries.org. And support for Liberty Beat comes from Roberts & Roberts Brokerage Incorporated, specializing in precious metals since 1977. Now accepting Bitcoin. Online at rrbi.co or by phone 800-874-9760. This is the Liberty Beat for Wednesday, September 3rd, 2014. I'm Brian Hagan reporting.
The entire nation has been transfixed by the emotional saga of missing toddler Aaron Crawford. Police remain baffled by 4-year-old Aaron's mysterious disappearance. The Crawford family is finally speaking out, but it isn't easy.
We're taking it day by day, you know? We just miss our baby so much.
This must be so hard on everyone.
All he does is cry. I hate him.
Little Aaron was last seen in the bedroom he shares with his older brother, Denny. Authorities say he was abducted by an intruder in the middle of the night.
Denny was in the room when Aaron was taken.
Yeah, right here. Now it's just my room.
Denny, can you tell us what happened?
I was in my room. A man lifted up the window and came in.
Were you scared?
Yes, because I thought he's going to take my Xbox.
This is the Onion News Network.
This is Free Talk Live. You may bring up anything you want. We're talking about the police state. The toll-free number is 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. You can join us online over at freetalklive.com and enjoy the features that we have waiting for you there. This music just keeps on going, doesn't it? There it goes.
There it is again.
Still there.
A little more.
Anyway, you can join us online, freetalklive.com. You can also, there we go, thank you very much. You can join us via Skype. The Skype username is lrn.fm. Feel free to connect with us that way if you like. With you in the studio tonight, Ian here.
Cantwell.
And Mark.
We bring back Chris. He's calling from the police state of Connecticut. He had some comments about the Bearcat, which stands for like ballistic engineered armored something attack truck. Anyway, it's a nasty little armored personnel carrier that has a gun turret mount on the top, gun ports, multiple gun ports out the sides. Apparently, it's fairly vulnerable on the underside to mines and things like that, IEDs, etc., which is probably why they're now adding the MRAP, the mine-resistant armored personnel carrier, to various different police departments around the country. We've seen some good news recently with Davis, California. The city council there actually voting to return their MRAP. But, Chris, you had some comments, so go ahead.
Well, certainly. It's great that you guys were kind of the first on the subject a couple of years ago, too, with that whole town council fiasco and the Elanco rep having to go up there.
Yes.
And there was a detail that you guys forgot to mention before, because I'm sure it's just so passé to you at this point, but your reps up there, your bureaucrat critters, they got caught on the hot mic saying in a giddy voice, "We're going to get ourselves a tank." I'm sure you remember that.
Yep.
That was classic.
It's true.
Beautifully classic. Where was I going with this? All right, I've actually called in a long time ago after that, too, because I had some Bearcat sightings down here, and I've had several since then, even including cops dressed up in green uniforms, just, I don't know, I guess out on SWAT calls and what have you. So they definitely love to parade them around down here in the various towns. I'm sure they got a few of them.
Sure, it was in Connecticut. I don't know if it was you that called about it, but I think it was a college in Connecticut where some kid had a Halloween costume on from over the Halloween weekend last year, and the police literally swarmed into this place and evacuated an entire dormitory full of students at gunpoint, had them running down the stairs, while men with fatigues and guns were trained on them. And it was just a ridiculous, outrageous response to something that wasn't even a threat to anyone whatsoever.
Yeah, I saw some of those videos. They were horrific, the way they pointed their M16s at kids in dorm rooms.
Yep.
And if I may quickly divert to a lesser important subject, in fact, it's not important at all, but I know you used to have this troll caller that we won't even mention his name, but he loved to call in from different locales and voices and talk about how great it was to nuke the Japanese back in the day.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Well, just for FYI, he happened to call in from the 50,000 watt range of a certain Hartford radio station the other day. I just thought that was interesting. I recognize his voice like that. I forget what he was trolling about, but that suggests to me that he's local and probably somewhere in the Massachusetts area.
Maybe he was listening to their web stream or something like that.
He could have been. He could have been. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Anyway.
So I guess you have the inside info on that.
Thanks, Chris, for your call tonight, man. I appreciate hearing from you. The toll-free number is 855-450-FREE. So let's move on here, shall we? Lots of different stuff to talk about in the news here tonight, but Christopher Cantwell is with us here, ChristopherCantwell.com, his website. You wanted to bring up a pretty serious topic, and that is rape.
Yeah, and it went along with what we were talking about before, with the perception being the issue in a legal case as opposed to what actually happened.
We were talking about the perception of a threat.
Right. So earlier we were talking about threats, and the Supreme Court is going to decide whether your intention to threaten, your actual threatening, or the person's perception of a threat is what constitutes the crime. And there was a bill passed in California. I don't know that it's passed. I don't know that the governor has signed it, but the California State Senate had unanimously passed a bill redefining consent in rape cases, right? And it doesn't require a woman to say no or to resist or to remove your hand or slap you for your sexual encounter to become a crime in this case. So the bill simply gives a vague standard of affirmative, conscious, and voluntary agreement by both parties as a consent requirement for sex. And in addition to consenting up front, the bill requires that affirmative consent be ongoing throughout the sexual activity. Now that almost sounds reasonable. We understand that okay, affirmative basically means that it's in agreement. An unconscious person can't make an agreement, and of course there's no such thing as an involuntary agreement. If it's involuntary, then you
not an agreement.
Very clearly did not agree to it. And we all sort of understand that if you're in the middle of a sexual encounter and somebody says, hey, stop,
that's enough,
no more. then that's the time that it stops. But the problem here is that the California legislature apparently thinks revoking consent happens without any communication whatsoever. It treats a conscious person the same as an unconscious person. Sex is rape when the woman tells authorities it is rape, even if she never mentions it to the person accusing her of rape. So if you don't have to say no, if you don't have to push someone away, all it requires is you to feel negatively about it afterwards. Well, this is something that can very clearly ruin a person's life, and I was extraordinarily concerned about it.
I'm still a little unclear on what's happened here.
Well, to some extent, there's been sort of going around the internet this upset that of the idea of people having sex with people who are drunk and people who are unconscious. And usually, if somebody's unconscious, it's because they're drunk, right? So it's this kind of you can't make a decision in that state situation. And many colleges have sort of instituted this policy where you have to continually get feedback on whether or not we want to move forward with the Sex Act, right? And this is supposed to empower women in some manner or another that I'm not entirely sure about.
So at every point you have to stop down and say, "Excuse me, may I
slide my hand up your shirt?"
Right.
that kind of thing.
I had gone into this on a different thing, that there's this like feminist YouTube commentator who her name's Lacey Green. She gets paid to go around to college campuses and talk to young impressionable voters about consent and sex and stuff like this. And I mean, she gives this description, that like not asking permission to kiss a woman is sexual assault, is the way she puts it. Now, I never ask permission in a sexual encounter, and I am not a serial rapist, guys, I promise. But sure. so this is the thing, that there's this standard. It's being pushed by radical feminists and whatnot, that like, even if what Lacey Green had said was like, if you're too drunk to drive, then you're too drunk to consent.
So concern is, one of the concerns is about this, what has been passed by the Senate that we know of in California. About this new standard for something to be considered rape, is that it must be affirmative, conscious, and voluntary, that the consent must be those three things, meaning that there has to be something explicitly said in order for it not to be rape. Is that the idea?
Basically,
like you have to have something spoken or written in order for it to not be rape?
The standard is vague, is really the concern that I have, right? I mean, in my opinion, right? Like, and when I wrote the Lacey Green article, someone had responded to me and told me about this sexual encounter that she had, that like she was like at a party and she like went to go lay down, and like a guy came into the room and started touching her, and she felt uncomfortable, so she went along with it, and she calls herself a rape victim. And I'm like, well, no, you're not a rape victim, because you never mentioned it to the guy that you weren't into this. You never tried to stop him.
Right. I felt uncomfortable, so I went along with it. Seems like a very strange combination.
Right. And this is something that's happening all of the time, though. I mean, look, I'm a guy who walks around with a gun. If I am walking around with a gun and I kiss a gal and she says, well, he had a gun, so I went along with it. And I'm like, well, I didn't take my gun out. I didn't threaten you. You just felt intimidated me because I had a gun, or I'm a large man, or whatever the reason was.
How many people have ever asked permission before they kiss somebody? I mean, doesn't that take the excitement out of it?
I would love to hear calls on that, but like I don't like I've written about this before, that like you go through any like major dating advice column, right? And they will always tell you don't ask permission to kiss a woman. It makes you look like weak and pathetic, and she wants somebody
she wants someone confident.
Yes. And
okay, I don't know whether I go for that at all, but I will be willing to say that there are some women that do not wish to be asked if you're going to kiss them. Let's get that out of the way. But I think that at the same time, some women would prefer to be asked, and that it's fine.
Make that clear.
I've asked lots of women, and it works out fine.
The toll-free number is 855-450-FREE, and how would you define rape? You can chime in here, get your thoughts on the air, and bring up whatever's on your mind at 855-450-FREE. Take control of Free Talk Live.
Angioprim can unclog blocked arteries and improve blood flow in all parts of your body. Angioprim is oral chelation. Easy, simple, liquid oral chelation. You take it with juice before breakfast and forget about it. Angioprim works fast, unlike old-fashioned chelation that takes hours. Just log on to angioprim.com. That's Angioprim, ANGIOPRIM, angioprim.com. Angioprim users say they have more energy, more strength, more endurance. Increased circulation and blood flow will make all your body parts work better. Log on to angioprim.com to get more information on how you can get started and start feeling better, having fun, and doing more again. Lots more. Talk to a trained Angioprim consultant. Call Angioprim toll-free at 877-882-7221. That's 877-882-7221. Or log on for complete information. Angioprim.com. That's Angioprim.com. Find out how Angioprim can work for you. Get the facts about Angioprim at Angioprim.com.
Hi, this is Mark Edge, host of Free Talk Live. We've been witnessing a meltdown of the very economic engine that powers this country. With a printing press tethered to Washington politicians, bureaucrats, and central bankers, how can we put our trust in paper money? For years, I've been buying gold and silver from Midas Resources, and you should too. Come see gold.freetalklive.com or call 877-357-9938 for a free book titled 10 Reasons to Own Gold. With Washington, D.C. delivering more debt and printed promises, common sense tells us the future of the trend is obvious. Everyone listening should visit gold.freetalklive.com or call 877-357-9938. I trust Midas Resources for my gold, silver, platinum, and you can too. Again, I want you to have this book, and it's free. It's gold.freetalklive.com or 877-357-9938.
877-357-9938.
There is no such thing as attention span, according to Jerry Seinfeld, who figures that people have an infinite attention span if you are entertaining them. Hey, he's kept us from channel surfing for several decades, and now he's making more millions as a Las Vegas headliner. With money and attention so scarce now, effective communication skills have never been more important, especially if you're looking for work. So choose every single word as though it was the last word the person you're speaking to will hear. Otherwise, it might be. Avoid redundancies such as added bonus, advance warning, end result, prior history, or personal belongings. And avoid cliches like the plague. Just kidding. For more tips, hit survivalspeech.com. I'm Holland Cook.
Did you know that you can listen to and watch Free Talk Live during our live show 7 days a week from 7 to 10 p.m. Eastern via our studio cam at cam.freetalklive.com? Not only that, but you can also chat with other listeners at the same time. Do I need to mention that both the studio cam and chat room are totally free? Outside of Free Talk Live's live hours, you won't see a cam feed, but will hear audio from the Liberty Radio Network. So listen, watch, and chat all free at cam.freetalklive.com. That's cam.freetalklive.com.
I love My Magic Mud. I drink a lot of coffee. I had stains on my teeth. Then I found My Magic Mud, and I was told it would remove stains. So I paid attention when I brushed the first time. My Magic Mud is black tooth powder, and the difference it made in my teeth in one application was noticeable. With 4, my teeth were as white as you normal folks out there. Please go to mymagicmud.com and buy a jar. There's 150 applications for $25. You can use Bitcoin, mymagicmud.com.
You're listening to the best liberty-oriented audio streamed around the clock, on the air, and online. This is the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
This is Free Talk Live, and you can bring up what you'd like right here toll-free at 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. Inviting you to the website at freetalklive.com. Please enjoy the features that are waiting for you there. You can go and download archives and get interactive with other Free Talk Live listeners in a variety of ways, all totally free. freetalklive.com. You've heard about the Silk Road. If you've been listening to Free Talk Live for the last few years, we've been telling you about the saga that really kicked into high gear in October of last year when the Silk Road was taken down by the feds and Ross Ulbricht was arrested and accused of being the man operating the Silk Road, the originator of the service, a.k.a. Dread Pirate Roberts. Ross has been getting a lot of press coverage as a result of that. I'm sure not as much as he and his family might like, but he's been getting the bulk of it. There have been 3 other arrests in the Silk Road case. Silk Road is an underground drug marketplace that exists on Tor, and it's back online, by the way. The feds taking it down didn't stop it for long. Came back a month later and is as popular as it's ever been in Silk Road version 2.0. But they've accused 4 people of being the primary administrators of this site, and the other 3, who are not Ross Ulbricht, have been the ones who really have been languishing. They haven't gotten much press coverage at all. So there's been a website set up to help out one of those 3 guys, those other 3, and that's Drew. Andrew Jones is his name, Andrew Michael Jones from, I think he's in Virginia. Anyway, he's stuck in his parents' house at the moment, out on $1 million bond. His parents had to put up their retirement incomes and their home in order to secure that bond. And so he has the benefit of not being in a prison cell to prepare for his trial, but it's still expensive to have an attorney. And they could use some help with fundraising. If you want to contribute, you can do it with PayPal. You can do it with Bitcoin. Go to drewsdefense.org. That's drewsdefense.org. Oh, and by the way, Drew is a Free State Project participant, so he wanted to join us in New Hampshire. He just hadn't gotten around to making the move yet, and so hopefully we can get him through this trial, and it'd be great to have him victorious and more free in New Hampshire with the rest of us. Go to drewsdefense.org to help him out and the rest of his family. Our toll-free number is 855-450-FREE. We're talking about some disturbing news out of California Chris Cantwell has shared a story with us about the California Senate voting to define rape as something that has to be, in order for sex to not be considered rape, in order for it to be considered consensual, it has to be entered into affirmative, conscious, and voluntary agreement with the sex participants.
Right. And like we said before the break, I mean, that almost sounds reasonable until you realize how vague the term is. I mean, if there's no verbal revocation of consent, if you're treating a conscious person and an unconscious person the same, right? Because, I mean, if you have sex with an unconscious person, clearly they're not going to tell you no, right? And if you have sex with a conscious person and they don't tell you no, well, this can still be rape. And I just think that that's so dangerous, and it's an idea that's gaining a lot of traction, not just in California. But I picked up this story because it's basically rape by default. It's just sex is rape unless it meets some other requirement.
Unless someone is very, very explicitly consenting, it's therefore rape. Is the concern that you have?
They have the term voluntary here, and so you were telling a story about a woman who's a speaker that felt that she says she was raped, but in fact somebody wandered into the bedroom where she was at a party and then started to make out with her, and she went along with it.
Right.
That sounds voluntary to me.
Well, just to differentiate, the speaker was not the one who told me the story. The commentator wrote this, made this YouTube video. I wrote an article refuting that, or refuting the video. It was published on avoiceformen.com, which is like a men's rights outlet. And this woman had commented on my blog and sent me a contact through my website about it and described this encounter where she's, at a party. She goes off into a bedroom. A guy comes in and, she's awake. She's aware of what's going on. And the guy, begins to engage with her sexually. She goes along with it and now calls herself a rape victim, and says, like, I had no way to prosecute this guy, and it was all because I didn't say no or try to stop him or any. And I'm like, well, I'm sorry, but, this is how most sexual encounters start.
Also, this terminology, it says voluntary, conscious...
and voluntary. Affirmative, conscious, and voluntary.
Affirmative, conscious, and voluntary, which means that it has to meet all three of those criteria. Now, that's interesting because, some couples have their arrangement that, hey, you can start making out with me and have sex with me anytime when I'm asleep or whatever. Like, that's the arrangement that they have. But if somebody has to be, by law, conscious... then they can't make that a person cannot choose to make that arrangement.
Well, the agreement could be made consciously, right? So they could make the conscious decision to allow themselves to be taken sexually while unconscious. I think that might still count. I mean, if you had them on video, I mean, what it sounds like is if you're in California, really have to CYA if you want to have sex. Get them into some sort of a signed agreement on video where it's made real clear they're not under the threat of a gun to make the statement. They're not under duress, and they finally, that they are consenting to sex with you here. That seems like, it seems ridiculous, but that seems like the only way you could really do it and be safe.
And the thing is that even then you're not, because it has to be ongoing, right? So I mean, if she makes a video thing where I consent to have sex with him and she just revokes sex, she could just say that she revoked consent at some point, and she doesn't have to tell him. There doesn't have to be a verbal no. So if she revokes consent to sex during sex and doesn't mention it, does she get to go to the police and cry rape? Well, it's not defined in the statute,
Disturbing.
And the thing about sleeping, look, when women sleep over my house, I ask them that question ahead of time. I'm like, do you enjoy being woken up with sex? Because I like to wake you up with sex, right? And even if I'm not, consciously waking up and trying to insert, okay, like I will fondle in my sleep, right? I'm there, and look, you're going to get groped in the middle of the night, and this is why I don't allow women who I'm not sleeping with to sleep in my bed. Is this now a sexual assault? Have I molested this person because I didn't, get prior agreement to be able to touch her boobs and her butt while we're sleeping?
I'd love to hear your thoughts. The toll-free number is 855-450-FREE. Let's go to James in Arizona. You're on Free Talk Live, James.
Father, yes, son, I want to kill you. Little bathroom humor from the dormitory. Mark?
Didn't work out. Go ahead.
Yeah, I guess you don't know the Doors. You ever heard of him, Ian? Hey, Minister Mark.
I don't think that Mark wants to talk to you.
Are you listening?
He's listening, but he's not going to engage with you. I'm happy to talk to you,
I'm
James.
happy to talk to you.
Yes. Oh, I know he does. He doesn't want to engage with me, even though he likes to say things about me on the air when I can't respond. But the last time I spoke with Minister Mark, with him off the air, you remember, Mark, the day I asked you about that Free Shire Church being a tax dodge, and you wouldn't answer? I asked you next time that tool pigeon Chris calls in from Connecticut, why don't you put us on the air together? Because he actually posed that loser of his religion, Brett Fanoyt's question, am I for real? I should love to get to answer any one of his stupid questions. And by the way, no, it wasn't me on that Hartford station, unless there's like some affiliate of a Phoenix station that I'm not aware of that broadcasts in Hartford. But anyway, speaking of economics, Cantwell, all men are capitalist, and some men are capitalist pigs like you. So enough of that sex talk. I'm trying not to picture any woman being knocked out, being boned by you. Oh, my God.
Well, that'll give you something to sleep on tonight. Thanks for the call, James.
I'll send you some pictures.
855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. Well, you know, the guy who called earlier basically summoned him by mentioning him. It's Free Talk Live. You take control.
Hi, I'm Phil Grandy from Phil's Gang. If you've been nervous about investing in the current stock market, then you need to listen up. Phil's Gang is having a free webinar on Saturday, September 13th. That's going to be at noon Eastern Time. You're going to learn how to invest in this type of market, not just the stock market, but you're going to be investing in yourself. Don't miss it. To sign up, go to LearnStocksForFree.com. That's LearnStocksForFree.com, or call 877-600-4264.
This is Dan Pilla. Do you owe the IRS money you can't pay? Are tax debts crippling you? I've defended people from the IRS for over 30 years. I've helped thousands, and I can help you too. I wrote the book on IRS settlement, and I'm telling you, there's no such thing as a hopeless case. Call 800-34-NO-TAX to finally get free of IRS debt. With the IRS's new programs, there's never been a better time to solve your problem. Call 800-34-NO-TAX. That's 800-34-NO-TAX, or my website, danpilla.com.
Free Talk Live.
We need to legalize the animal trade. The illegal bird trade causes the death of hundreds of thousands of birds. Do you know why that hundreds of thousands of birds are dying?
Why don't you tell me?
The reason these birds are dying is because it's illegal. They have to pack in multiple birds into whatever it is that they're transporting them in. And
one would think.
When they get across the border and they open up the package, you can damn well bet some of those birds have expired.
Yes.
So there's a certain percentage rate that just don't make it through. And that's where this number comes from, this hundreds of thousands of birds dying every year because of the illegal bird trade. Now, if it wasn't for the people demanding them, obviously nobody would be bringing them in. So there's people in this country that are demanding birds just like people are demanding cocaine in this country. So the idea that we can stop the bird trade is just as asinine that we can stop the war on drugs. We have a war on birds in this country. They just don't talk about it.
Free Talk Live, 7 nights a week from 7 to 10 Eastern, live on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
Did you know that Free Aid is a mutual aid, educational, and networking organization? At Free Aid, we support volunteers who provide first aid. We do outreach to the public about health and safety, and we bring together medically skilled freedom lovers. Free Aid is made possible by your generous support. Donors can receive great gifts like first aid kits, t-shirts, silver dime cards, and hoodies. The Free Aid Silver Dime Card Project is sponsored in part by Roberts & Roberts Brokerage, Freedom's Phoenix, and Don't Tread on Meme. Visit fr33aid.com.
The three most important things you can do for Free Talk Live are: 1, share one episode a week on Facebook or in some other social networking site. 2, buy the things you buy online through shop.freetalklive.com. 3, give $5 a month to the AMP program. You likely buy all kinds of things online. Amazon is the largest online retailer. You can get what you need at the same prices with free Super Saver shipping by going to shop.freetalklive.com. Please do your online shopping at shop.freetalklive.com.
Listen, you've heard the commercials before. Whether you owe $15,000 or $15 million in tax debt to the IRS or state, we can help. On a never-ending payment plan? Penalties and interest killing you? Missing tax returns? Being garnished or levied? Not a problem. If you qualify, we can remove levies and garnishments within days or even hours of hiring our firm. If you've been summoned, or even worse, receiving tax warrants in the mail, call right now. Are you a business owner with back payroll taxes? Is the IRS or state threatening to close your business you've worked so hard to build? Protect yourself and your business. Even if you've tried in the past, new guidelines could potentially qualify you today. So what are you waiting for? We can take that tax monkey off your back.
Call the Tax Monkey now. 800-281-6030. 800-281-6030. 800-281-6030. That's 800-281-6030.
While our satellite channel is free to listen to, it's not free for us. You can help us cover our satellite costs with the chip-in on the right side of the page at lrn.fm.
Free Talk Live. Take control toll-free and bring up anything you want right here at 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. Those are the toll-free numbers brought to you by ProXPN. If you care about privacy, you need to know about ProXPN. Had somebody contact me today saying, hey, your internet streams, they're blocked at work. I can't listen to you at work. And ProXPN is a way to solve that problem. In fact, proxpn.com/FTL is where you can go. In fact, if you've got some sort of block, whether it's from your workplace or the country you're visiting, like different countries have restrictions, for instance, on certain websites, ProXPN can get you around all that. proxpn.com/FTL. Go there, grab their software for Windows, Macintosh, iOS devices, Android devices as well. Plus, Linux users, setup's a little different for you, but ProXPN also works with Linux. It'll also protect you from other snooping type folks like your internet service provider, where they're probably keeping records of every website you visit and every search you make, in some cases for as long as 5 years. You can stop that record keeping by getting ProXPN. Again, proxpn.com/FTL. Get started there, and when you're ready to upgrade to premium for unlimited bandwidth, servers around the world you can connect to, private torrenting ability, and getting past regionally blocked websites, you can upgrade for just $5 a month. About $5 a month. It's actually slightly less than $5 a month. The last time I ran the numbers, FTL50 is the code that you need. That's our special promo code. FTL stands for Free Talk Live. The 50 stands for 50% off the price of the annual account with ProXPN. So use that code when you sign up for the premium account, and you'll save 50% for the lifetime of your account. You can also save 62% off of an annual account with code FTLBTC and pay with Bitcoin. So if you want the deepest and best discount, then use code FTLBTC and pay with Bitcoin over at proxpn.com/FTL. Don't forget, there's a risk-free 7-day money-back guarantee, so you've got nothing to lose but your privacy. It's a great discount, 50% off on privacy that is priceless. Go to proxpn.com/FTL. Use code FTL50 for credit card orders or FTLBTC for Bitcoin. Let's go to Tom in New Hampshire. You're on Free Talk Live, Tom.
Yeah, it's about driver education. You see, my son had some trouble getting his license, and after you pass driver ed, you got to pass the road test. And what I want to bring up is, looking around for some schools where he could get more practice behind the wheel after he passed driver ed. That was difficult because the driver ed schools are busy with driving hours for their own students. And a lot of them also mention that they have a waiting list for their own students. And what this tells me is that that's an occupation here in New Hampshire. You got these listeners interested in the Free State Project around the country. Mm-hmm. There's an occupation for some of them to look into. I mean, being a driver ed teacher is not for everybody, of course, but it's an occupation for some people to look into, where there would be job security, because they're full up, is what I'm saying.
And there's always new people that need to learn how to drive out there. So that's one thing's for sure. There's always going to be a demand for that.
And plenty of people who could learn how to drive a whole lot better.
Again,
remedial
course. Is what you're suggesting like a secondary course, though? I mean, you're talking about driver's ed, which is what you have to take in order to, get your driver's license or whatever. But are you talking about like a secondary class, like to get more practices?
Secondary class, or just go and pay them like $100 for 2 hours or 3 hours or something, drive around and see, what he needs work on. Never mind what he needed work on. I mean, there's all these different things about driving the car, and you want to do it safely. I mean, I realize there are some strict libertarians who don't believe in speed limits, but they do believe in don't crash into people. So,
yeah, I think that's an important lesson for a driver to learn.
Now, is it true that in some states you actually have to go to some kind of an official class? Because I know that when I was in Florida, that wasn't the case. My dad taught me how to drive on the like the back roads east of the interstate in Sarasota, Florida.
But we did get a discount on our insurance, which was very high for young people if you took the driver's ed course.
Oh, really?
So,
well, if you're under 18, you have to take driver ed before you can get your license in New Hampshire.
In New Hampshire,
I see.
In New York, it's a similar thing that you don't necessarily have to take the driver's ed course, right? But you can't. It's you can get in New York, you can get your learner's permit at 16, and you can drive then with like a parent or guardian. You can drive with a driver's ed teacher, but you can't drive with like friends or whatever. It used to be that you could drive with someone who was over 18, but then they changed that. But you do get, you get insurance discounts and stuff like that. My understanding is what he's suggesting is like as a secondary course. I don't know if they have it here in New Hampshire. I know in New York sometimes they even mandate it, or you get an insurance discount for it. They call it defensive driving there, where you basically go through like an obstacle course, and those things are potentially good things for a person to learn.
Tom, any other thoughts? Go ahead.
Here's the point to ponder. Yeah, here's the point. Now, in order to to get your license, I mean, it's important to take driver ed. But the teachers, okay, where did they learn? They had to go to a driver ed teacher school taught by driver ed teachers. And where did they go to school? Did they go to a school with driver ed teachers, and so on? And how far up the scale does that go?
I don't even know how to answer that.
Yeah, I don't
Thanks
know.
for the call, Tom. 855-450-FREE. That is the Pro XPN toll-free line. So we were talking about rape and a disturbing reclassification or possible change in the California statutes, at least, to really kind of broaden the idea of rape and some of the fallout that could come as a result of this. And I know that you guys were talking during one of the breaks, and I felt like there were some points being made that should be made on the radio.
Yeah, Mark had brought up, and I thought it was, it's dangerous and serious, but I also found it funny, right? So if you need to now get verbal consent, right, that you have to ask before you kiss a woman because that's sexual assault, right? Well, if I think it's also illegal to run around asking for sexual favors, right? Like this is a sexual harassment, is illegal pretty much everywhere. I think at this point that if I'm just walking around like, hey, you want to?
What do you think about?
I'm like, wait a second. I'm on FCC airwaves. I don't know if I should do this. I could do this in some garbage podcast, not here.
When in doubt, leave it out, as they say at Clear Channel.
But it's, I think that, this opens the door wide open for, hey, I just have to get some affirmative affirmations here, and then I'm allowed to move forward, so I'm just doing that.
Well, right, but the question is, would you be arrested for sexual harassment when you're trying to get your affirmation for?
I don't know if it's an arrest,
sex?
but I think it's a civil issue, sexual harassment specifically. But
you can be arrested for sexual harassment in New York. I know that it's a misdemeanor. So, I'm willing to bet it's the same in California. I mean, this is like radical feminist influence on the legislature, right? Like this is happening, and if you watch these people, if you read feminist blogs and stuff like that, you'll see these kind of like really crazy ideas, and this is sort of these are the types of things that the men's rights movement popped up to fight against, right? That they're turning around everything so that seemingly innocuous things a person can have a man arrested for, and I think that it's just terrible and scary.
Toll-free number tonight, 855-450-FREE.
Well, we went through the list of feminist myths that just won't die last night on the show.
Total coincidence.
Yeah. I mean, Cantwell brought this up. It's something entirely different. But, I think that sort of the best thing that the feminists had going is that women need to be treated equally under the law. And
it's the exact opposite.
Yeah, I think that we've moved beyond that. The pendulum has swung to the point that men are no longer treated equally under the law. And I could, there's lists of ways that that's true.
Unless they're cops.
Yeah, I think that you have, like, the only disparity that seems to really sort of exist anymore is the, Women are called women who have a lot of sex are called sluts. Men who have a lot of sex are called studs. Like there's that one disparity.
Or dogs, depending on who you talk to.
Depending on who you talk to, and that's about all there is from what I can tell as far as the sort of the slut shaming conversation. And I don't think that's nice to call somebody names like that. You don't know what their life is like, and you don't know why they make the decisions that they make. But
and I rather enjoy the company of promiscuous women. So
they're the only ones that make judgment bad enough, right?
855-450-FREE. That's the toll-free number. The celebrity sex pics are coming out. There's been a lot of news about that recently. And what does it mean for privacy in America? Is privacy completely dead? Well, some people might be sweating it out a little bit here. We'll tell you more coming up.
I want to share something important that will not only improve your life, but the lives of many others as well. And all you need to do is drink coffee. I'm not talking about harmful store-bought or chain coffee. No, this is truly the best of the best coffee. We've partnered with Camano Island Coffee Roasters to offer BuzzBox. With every purchase, 10% goes towards our efforts to give the gift of human freedom by providing at least 100 microfinance loans via World Vision. So literally, just one cup at a time, you're having an impact and helping make a difference in the world. And one sip will have you buzzing to family and friends. To prove just how good it is, we're giving a free pound of coffee to everyone in the audience. All you do is cover shipping. Go to coffee.freetalklive.com. BuzzBox coffee is organic, so it contains no pesticides or toxins. It's shade-grown, so less acidity and no heartburn. It's top 1% Arabica grade and gives people the opportunity to own their own coffee farms. Join us in making a huge impact at coffee.freetalklive.com.
We live in a complicated society. Stressful issues are always popping up. Have you ever been treated unfairly by someone? Have you ever been overcharged for a repair? Have you ever signed a contract or a document? Worried about identity theft? How many times have you been in those unique situations where you just wanted to call an attorney to find out if you're right or wrong, or what your legal rights are? But every time you think about calling an attorney, what do you think about first? That's right. Who do you call, and how much will it cost? Our friends at Legal Shield have found a solution. With a nationwide network of 6,900 attorneys who average 19 years of experience, Legal Shield's law firms take over 40,000 calls per week helping their members. For less than $20 per month, you can have access to Legal Shield on everything from the trivial to the traumatic. Let Legal Shield stand up for your rights at lsprotection.com. That's lsprotection.com. Or call 855-340-SAVE, 855-340-7283.
Results will vary from case to case.
Free Press Publications is an independent alternative media and publishing company founded in June 2009 with the mission of ensuring a free press for the freedom movement and is committed to spreading the message of peace, freedom, love, and liberty. FPP also gives new authors an avenue for publishing freedom-oriented material. FPP brings you daily news and commentary at fpp.cc, as well as weekly news in the FPP Freedom Minute and Peace, Love, Liberty Radio at fppradio.com. The monthly newspaper FPP News at news.fpp.cc and books at shop.fpp.cc. Find FPP online at fpp.cc. That's fpp.cc, as in Creative Commons.
If you want to know the latest about Free Talk Live before we go on the air, all you need to decide is how you want it delivered. It's your choice. Visit news.freetalklive.com. You can get emailed announcements and participate in contests via our email updates list. Plus, we have a Twitter account that you can follow and a Facebook page where you can become a fan. So visit news.freetalklive.com to get news about Free Talk Live as soon as it's announced and the way you want it delivered at news.freetalklive.com. That's news.freetalklive.com.
This is Mark of Free Talk Live. We've been witnessing a meltdown of the economic engine that powers our country. With a printing press tethered to Washington bureaucrats and New York central bankers, how can we trust paper money? For years, I've been buying gold and silver from Midas Resources, and you should too. Call 877-357-9938 for a free book titled 10 Reasons to Own Gold, or go to gold.freetalklive.com. Again, 877-357-9938. 877-357-9938.
Do you love Twitter? Make sure you favorite the LRN.FM Twitter account so you can receive our tweets at twitter.lrn.fm. That's twitter.lrn.fm.
This is Free Talk Live. Moments remain here, but enough time for your call with your thoughts. You just dial in toll-free and bring up anything. 855-450-FREE is the number. That's 855-450-3733. You can join us online. Go to freetalklive.com and enjoy the features there. If you like the show, you can help support Free Talk Live by becoming an amplifier. Go to amp.freetalklive.com. AMP stands for Advertise, Market, and Promote. It's $5 a month. We take that $5 in, invest it into getting on new radio stations all around the country. Essentially, we're marketing the show to the stations. We're not paying for airtime, although some shows do it that way. We don't. We want our show to be added based on merit. We want our show to be added to a station because they like the show, not because we're lining their pockets with, $1,000 checks every week or something like that. So the money goes to advertising Free Talk Live, to promoting Free Talk Live, to marketing the show, to getting on new stations. That's why we've gotten over 160 radio affiliates, licensed FCC stations. There's also some wonderful unlicensed pirate stations that take us as well, and we appreciate them too. But the AMP program makes a huge difference for us. So please become an amplifier at amp.freetalklive.com. That's amp.freetalklive.com. You can do it with any major credit card through PayPal, or you can use Visa or MasterCard right on our website at amp.freetalklive.com. The money's also used to do outreach to internet listeners as well, bring new internet listeners on board. We're buying satellite time to get the show out to free-to-air listeners across North and Central America, as well as a lot of Africa. So very cool stuff happening. amp.freetalklive.com. Let's go to Patrick. He's in New Orleans. You're on Free Talk Live. Patrick.
Yes, sir. I have a question. I'm 70 years old. I'm a disabled Vietnam vet. I want to know why my southern border is not protected, why it's not closed. How come 55,000 children can walk in? How come is that?
As opposed to what, like sealing off the exits and putting up walls, and some other country saying, Mr. Obama, tear down this wall. I mean, what is it that you really think is going to happen here?
Well, as far as I know, the Congress passed a bill to do just exactly that, put up a wall with a whole bunch of openings that would be manned by Border Patrol. As I understand it, most countries have that.
So that's what you want. You want the United States to be like most countries. You want very restrictive rules, walls. You want militaristic police standing guard, and I presume you're going to want some internal searches as well, right? Because there's already immigrants here, so I'm guessing you're going to want to go ahead and do some house-to-house searches, maybe some internal checkpoints. Does that all sound good to you too?
Hey, if 55,000 children can get through, some ISIS people with nuclear
You're darn
weapons
right they
can
could.
get through.
Absolutely. And you know what we should do is we should advocate the United States government stay the hell out of the Middle East and stop messing with people so nobody from ISIS wants to come over here and blow stuff up. You can't protect 2,500 miles of border along the south and then another 3,500 miles of border along the north. Yeah, somebody can slip in.
Wait, you didn't answer my question, Patrick. So, I mean, how do you feel about the idea? Let's do some house-to-house searches here, some random checkpoints. You're okay with that, right? The police coming in and pawing through all your stuff, looking for...
When a policeman pulls me over, he wants my ID.
Mm-hmm.
That's what happens to me. How come it doesn't happen to Latinos?
Well, it happens to them all the time. I mean, people are getting arrested for driving without licenses. I mean, this happens every day.
There's plenty of
hundreds
Latinos being arrested by cops in the United States. So you didn't answer my question, Patrick. I mean, are you okay with the idea of maybe doing some house-to-house searches? Would you be all right with letting the police check through your house?
No, sir.
Oh, okay. So I guess you don't want to stop the immigration horde. You're not really serious about this, are you? You could be hiding immigrants in your house, Patrick, and how do we know you're not, sir?
I think the point that Ian and I were all trying to drive home here is, I mean, if you decide you want to seal off the border, you want to put up a wall, you want to have border patrol people there. I mean, this is a loss of freedom. Patrick, was it right?
Yes, Patrick.
This is a loss of freedom. It's an expense. It's a thing that taxpayers are going to get charged for. It's a thing that if there's a problem here, they're going to prevent us from leaving the country. All these other countries that you're talking about that have strictly controlled borders, a lot of them are really tyrannical regimes where people want to get out and they cannot.
That's right. Those walls keep people in too.
Exactly. So walls work both ways, and generally speaking, these countries are putting up these walls not to keep the immigrants out, but to keep their population in. And I'm terrified of that happening in the United States, especially when we see government ramping up things the way that it does. The pace of the growth of government in this country to then seal off its borders terrifies me. Does that not concern you, Patrick?
No, sir. I walk with a cane. If I want to get someplace or get away from someplace, I don't have a problem.
Well, I don't walk with a cane, and I have a car, and I'm really terrified of there being a wall and a man with a gun should I need to flee this country.
Patrick?
Yeah, it isn't a matter of being able to leave. I have a passport. I can leave anytime.
So you have permission to leave, but as soon as your permission to leave is revoked, then you're going to have a hard time getting out. Do you understand that?
Who's going to take away the permission for me to leave?
The bureaucrats.
A lot of people thought that nobody was going to take their guns in New York or California or Connecticut. A lot of people thought that they could say things on the internet without being threatened with 4 years in jail.
Thanks for the call, Patrick. Appreciate hearing from you. Look, Patrick and people like him are living in this fantasy world where the government, they can just create the government that they want.
Yeah.
They'll build a wall, and the people running the wall will let them out anytime they want to go out. They'll honor their permission slip that they've given them, and everything's just going to be fine. They won't have to submit to house searches because, well, we don't have to go that far to try to stop the immigration problem, but the wall will be built and it will be operated in just the way they envision it. And of course, it never works out that way. It works out usually in the way that, well, things just keep getting worse. The government program is created, whatever it is, in this case, the wall program, and then they increase the program size. The amount of bureaucrats that are working for the program increases. So now it's the wall, and then it's building turrets on the wall at 50-foot intervals, and then it's adding barbed wire, adding the moat, throwing gators into the moat, and before you know it, you do have internal checkpoints already. By the way, in this country, they already exist, and there's going to be more of them likely in the future. We've already got ICE, this immigration customs bureaucracy. They're already raiding businesses and holding people at gunpoint while they go through files in the back office, looking at people's identification, looking at their employee records and their personal information. That's already happening. The only thing that hasn't really happened on at least a regular basis are house-to-house searches. But that did happen in the Boston bombing aftermath, where they did go house-to-house, and they did search house-to-house looking for those people. So we're already there. It just hasn't been used for immigration purposes yet.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's something that it drove me crazy. Like when I was in New York and I started getting politically active, I got involved with the Tea Party, right? And these people were all, hey, limited government, constitution, yada, yada, yada.
Except the border.
Except anything that was pitched to them as immigration, not even just the border. I mean, different zoning regulations and stuff like this. And this is part of, I lost an apartment in New York because they were going to send an inspector because I was living in an illegal apartment. And the Tea Party was like, yeah, we need to crack down on these illegal apartments to get the illegal immigrants out of Long Island. And I'm like, I live in one of those illegal apartments. Can you please stop doing this? I'm white. I've lived here my whole life. I speak the language. I work for a living. I pay taxes, unfortunately. And
we're all illegals now. I mean, that's just the thing. I'm so insulted by people calling human beings illegals, like that they're bad people because they've come here looking for a better life. Many of them. Sure, some are welfare hounds, but so are some people born here. But anyway.
Well, the welfare hounds, that's the problem of the state,
not
the
welfare.
problem of the people that are taking it.
Yeah, but these people are coming here because it's a better life here, and it's worth the effort to come here, even with all the crazy police state stuff. It is true, however, if you were to create a crazy border and an insane enforcement apparatus inside the country, regular house-to-house searches, checkpoints everywhere, eventually people would stop coming. That much is true, because they would realize that staying in Guatemala isn't actually as bad as going to America, so they'll just stay where they are, and then we can all live in a police state hell, and it'll be wonderful.
A lot of people complain that they don't that the immigrants don't change their government where they are, and then they use and they want to use the power that they have for social status to make it more difficult for poor people to come here. Well, that's kind of the problem the immigrants have where they are, is that rich people who have a say in the government are attempting to modify the government to benefit them and to benefit the rich people, and at the detriment of the poor people. So of course they're going to come someplace where they can just work for more money.
We'll be back tomorrow night. You can join us online in the meantime at freetalklive.com. Join Chris on his website, christophercantwell.com, and we'll see you tomorrow. On Free Talk Live, we're bringing people to the ideas of liberty every day. From wrestling superstars like Glenn Jacobs.
You guys really are having an impact, I believe. Like I said, a lot of where I am now is due to listening to Free Talk Live. You changed my mind on some very important issues years ago.
To random people tuning in on the radio.
I was kind of stuck in the left-right paradigm. I heard your show by chance on a Saturday night. From there, I went on, joined the Free State Project, and become an amplifier. So, I mean, that's really the reason why I amp, is because I know that if it wasn't for you guys being on as many stations as you are, I never would have found the ideas of liberty.
Your amp will directly change more lives by getting Free Talk Live in front of people looking for talk radio online and on the air. Find out about giving to our Google AdWords campaign at amp.freetalklive.com. That's amp.freetalklive.com.
Imagine for a moment a radio program, the most personal of mediums, that reaches hundreds of thousands of people on more than 140 radio stations across the U.S. and around the world through the internet with podcasts and live streams. Imagine the advertising is affordable, from $600 to $6,000 a month. Free Talk Live is that program. We will work with you to get clicks, calls, views, or sales. Email me at mark@freetalklive.com. Here's a chance to do a little activism while you're cruising Facebook, Twitter, or Google+. Between the LOL cats, the recipes, the hot girls, and the inspirational sunrise memes, Free Talk Live's posts pass by your newsfeed. Like them, comment. It gives us more exposure. If you don't see our posts, click like at facebook.freetalklive.com and then hover over it to click Get Notifications. It's an easy way to spread the ideas of liberty a bit further. I know you're busy, but you can spare that tenth of a calorie it takes to click on something. facebook.freetalklive.com.
Cop Block Radio is up next, live after the news on the Liberty Radio Network, LRN.FM.
From Keene in the Shire, the Liberty Media capital of the world, this is Darrell W. Perry, host of FPP Radio News for Wednesday, September 3rd, 2014. Silver is trading at $19.17 per ounce. Gold is valued at $1,267 per ounce. And according to BitcoinAverage.com, the average price of Bitcoin is $479. Antiwar.com reports there has been wide speculation about the overall cost of Israel's nearly 2-month-long war on the Gaza Strip. Defense Minister Moshe Ya'alon stepped in yesterday to say the direct military cost of the war was about $9 billion. Ya'alon insisted the war would have been worth it at 3 times the price, citing the huge damage done to Hamas. A new poll showed Hamas is actually more popular in the Strip after the war. $9 billion is a huge chunk of Israel's annual $14 billion military budget and over 2 years' worth of U.S. military subsidies. That's only the direct military cost, a fraction of the overall cost to the Israeli economy, as the war hugely hurt the nation's important tourism industry. The Israeli government has struggled to sell the war as a great military victory, but apart from a large civilian death toll, there was very little measurable consequence to the war at all, and with Israel already facing a budget crisis over military spending, it wasn't a great time to dump money on a pointless war. FPP Radio News is brought to you by Roberts & Roberts Brokerage. For over 35 years, Roberts & Roberts has been a trusted source for buying and selling your investment-grade precious metals. They now take Bitcoin for purchasing precious metals so you can turn your profits into a long-term investment. Call Roberts & Roberts today for knowledgeable advice on investing. 800-874-9760. Reuters reports more than 1 million people have been uprooted by the conflict in Ukraine, including 260,000 within the country where further mass displacement is feared due to ongoing fighting. The United Nations said on Tuesday some Ukrainian nationals have fled by motorcycle to Russia, while others have escaped the crisis by spending the summer months at European spas or visiting grandparents. Vincent Cochetel, director of the UN High Commissioner for Refugees, Bureau for Europe, told reporters in Geneva, "It's safe to say you have over 1 million people now displaced as a result of the conflict, internally and externally together. That total includes 814,000 Ukrainians now in Russia with various forms of status, as well as compatriots who have fled to Belarus, Moldova, and the 3 Baltic states and the European Union. Of the 814,000 Ukrainian nationals who have entered Russia this year, 260,000 have applied for some sort of protective status. The remaining 554,000 have arrived on the basis of a visa-free regime, allowing them to stay up to 270 days. Cochetel added, "We see them arriving sometimes by foot, by bus, by motorcycle. Within Ukraine, most people displaced by earlier fighting have returned to areas retaken by the Ukrainian army." In the spirit of Motorhome Diaries and Liberty on Tour, I intend to take the message of peace, love, and liberty on the road. During the 104-day trip, I'll be visiting at least 10 cities across the country, speaking to people about the ideas of peace, love, and liberty. To find out more about the tour or to donate, visit tour.fppradio.com. That's tour.fppradio.com. Antiwar.com reports the Pentagon has confirmed an attack on Somalia on Monday, but offered no details until Tuesday morning, confirming it was a drone attack with several Hellfire missiles fired along the southern Somali coast. Perhaps even more interesting, President Obama is said not to have given specific authorization for the attack. The Pentagon says they had actionable intelligence that Ahmed Abdi Godane was in the area, and that this was the reason for the strike, and that President Obama had authorized any attack the Pentagon might want to launch that might hit Godane, so they didn't need a permission slip for this one. There were a number of people killed, though the Pentagon so far suggests they haven't identified any of the slain and can't confirm if the intended target, Ahmad Abdi Godane, a top al-Shabaab leader, was even present. Pentagon officials expressed hope that Godane was killed. As with so many other drone strikes targeting leaders of various factions, the U.S. seems to just lob missiles into the general direction of some people and then cross its fingers that it hit what it meant to. This has been FPP Radio News, online at fppradio.com.
Hewlett-Packard is known for their basic, no-frills computers, but that doesn't mean they can't keep up with the latest technology. In a press release yesterday, HP said, quote, "We are excited to begin offering that cloud thing that everyone is talking about. We definitely have the cloud on our computers, and it is better than anyone else's cloud." Earlier today, I sat down with HP spokesman Gary Klinman, who said the company couldn't wait to show people, quote, how they do their cloud stuff.
We are absolutely thrilled that now people with computers or phones, both will now be able to back things up to the cloud.
Klinman says it isn't surprising they're, quote, up on the cloud, considering they're on the cutting edge of all the latest tech trends. Are there any additional features?
Crowdsourcing is something we are having. Crowdsourcing 2.0. We have social sharing.